Imagine waking up without an alarm. No buzzing phone on the nightstand. No distant traffic or hum of machinery. No urgent schedule to check. No emails waiting. No meetings looming. Just silence. Just light. You open your eyes to a soft gray wash of dawn spilling into a rock shelter. The air is cool, crisp, and carries the faint scent of wood smoke and earth. Somewhere nearby, someone stirs. A baby's cry cuts through the quiet for a moment before fading into soft murmurs. A laugh follows, quiet, shared, human. Outside, birds are greeting the morning. Their calls weave into the rhythm of the day that it's 40,000 years ago. You're a Homo sapiens, anatomically identical to us. Same brain, same body, same capacity for thought, emotion, and speech. But your world is alien, almost impossible to imagine. For decades, popular culture has taught us that prehistoric life was constant struggle. Brutish cavemen fleeing predators, starving every day, living short, miserable lives. But archaeology tells a radically different story. Prehistoric humans weren't just surviving, they were living. They had art, music, storytelling, humor, care for the old and disabled, and rituals surrounding death. Their lives were complex, layered, and rich with social connection. What did a normal day look like? How did humans spend their hours when there were no jobs, no bills, no grocery stores? The answer might surprise you. Studies of modern hunter-gatherers, our best window into ancient lifestyles, suggest that early humans probably spent only 4 to 6 hours a day gathering food, hunting, or maintaining tools and shelters. The rest was leisure, talking, playing, crafting, telling stories. Your ancestors may have had more free time than most of us today. Now, back to the morning. You lie on a bed of dry grasses and animal hides, pressed close to your group. Not for intimacy, though bonds are there, but for warmth. Body heat is precious. The first thing you notice is the chill. Not unbearable, but crisp. The second is the smell, with smoke from the fire that burned low through the night. Faint and comforting. Mixed with it is the earthy smell of humans, the scent of dried meat, and the mineral tang of the rocks surrounding you. Someone is already awake. There is always someone awake. Paleolithic humans practiced biphasic or polyphasic sleep, short periods of rest broken by wakeful hours in the night. These hours weren't restless. They were for fire tending, checking on children, quiet conversation, contemplation. The fire is alive again. Someone adds twigs and dry brush, sparks rising as the flames lick the stones. Fire is life itself, and keeping it burning is a duty shared among the group. Sometimes it's the elderly, sometimes the young, childless adults, sometimes a rotation, an unspoken agreement of responsibility. As the embers grow, children begin to stir. They move faster than adults, excited by the new day. The adults wake slowly, stretching stiff limbs, easing into consciousness without urgency. There is no rush. Your day will unfold according to light, hunger, and the rhythm of nature, not a clock. Morning smells mingle with sounds. The baby cries again. Soft murmurs soothe it. Someone heads outside to inspect the terrain, to read the signs of nature. Tracks in the dirt, cloud shapes, wind direction, bird calls. Every signal tells a story. Prehistoric humans were experts in reading the environment, capable of seeing what modern eyes would miss. Slowly, as more people rise and gather near the fire, conversation begins. Dreams are discussed. Plans form organically. Which plants to gather, which hunting spots to check, who will stay behind to care for young children or maintain tools. Leadership is fluid. Decisions emerge from knowledge and experience, not hierarchy. The day is beginning, but not with drama. It begins with presence. The group is together, warm, accounted for, safe. That itself is an achievement, a survival skill refined over millennia. Children run, laugh, wrestle, and explore. Adults watch and join occasionally, hands busy with tools and preparations. Soon, hunger nudges attention. It's time for the first meal of the day, but not breakfast as you know it. Your ancestors eat when food is available, when the body signals hunger. Some leftover meat from a previous hunt, roasted roots, dried berries, hazelnuts cracked from their shells with practiced hands. Simple food, yet rich in knowledge, ritual, and survival strategy. The old woman of the group prepares a portable meal of pounded meat, fat, and berries, a primitive pemmican. Each step is learned precise. The ratio must be right, the pounding thorough. This is knowledge transmitted over generations, and eating it is as much about culture as sustenance. Food is shared, social, distributed according to unspoken rules that reinforce bonds and ensure survival. Adults often eat less than children. Hunters share kills with the group, trusting reciprocity will sustain them in turn. Eating is functional, yes, but also a moment of connection, a daily reinforcement of trust and community. By mid-morning, the fire is tended, the meal finished, the sun climbing. Energy restored, attention shifts to work. But the work isn't constant drama. The hunt gets all the glory, but gathering is the backbone of survival. Roots, berries, tubers, nut seeds, these are the true lifeblood of the group, consistent, predictable, and essential. This is the rhythm of life. Waking slowly, connecting, eating together, observing the land, and preparing for the day. Danger exists, yes, but the steady, knowledgeable engagement with the environment, the attentive, patient work of humans reading the world, is what carries the group through mid-morning. Your meal digested, your basket's empty, but your mind's alert. The group begins to move. Gathering is not a casual stroll. It is purposeful, deliberate, a dance with the landscape honed over generations. You step out of the shelter into the crisp light. The sun has climbed higher, painting everything in a warmer gray gold that you're not wandering blindly. Every step is guided by knowledge and memory. Your mother's sister, your guide today, moves with an ease that comes from decades of observation. She knows which hillsides harbor edible tubers, which creek banks hide cattail roots, where wild onions are past their prime, and which berry bushes are just beginning to ripen. Every path you take has been walked hundreds of times, yet every day brings subtle differences to notice. You carry a child on your back in a soft deer hide sling. The baby sleeps, lulled by the rhythm of your step. Around your waist hangs a leather pouch for small finds. Your hands grip the tools of your trade. A digging stick, baskets of woven plant fibers, a flint knife tucked safely into your belt. Every item has purpose. Every motion has intention. The walk is slow but purposeful. You cover 5, maybe 10 miles today. The terrain challenges you. Rocky inclines, thick underbrush, streams to ford. Your muscles ache in familiar ways. Each footstep presses into the soil. Each bend of the knee and stretch of the back is measured, efficient, mindful. Modern humans rarely move like this. Here, movement is observation. Attention is survival. Your guide pauses in a seemingly unremarkable patch of earth. But she notices what your eyes cannot. The subtle discoloration of soil, the slight curve of a grass stem, a telltale shape in the shadow of the underbrush. She kneels, probing with her digging stick. At 3 inches, she strikes something solid. Carefully, with practiced hands, she loosens the soil and pulls up a knobby tuber, pale and ugly, but nutritious and filling once roasted. She hands it to you, then digs again. Another tuber, another. In 10 minutes, you have enough to feed the group tonight, and maybe leave a few for tomorrow. But this is more than collecting food. This is education. She explains to your young cousin the dangers of a similar-looking root that grows nearby, the one that can kill in hours if eaten raw. She gestures to the leaves, counts the veins, tells the story of your grandmother's near-fatal mistake decades ago. Every plant is a lesson. Every day, your cousin learns survival knowledge that will save her life. You pause at a fallen log, and she spots mushrooms. Mushrooms are tricky. Some are food, some are deadly. She examines, sniffs, taps. Only the safe ones go in your basket. Every decision is cautious, deliberate. Every choice carries consequence. Hours pass in this rhythm, walking, observing, digging, collecting. Birds call overhead. The wind shifts, carrying scent from miles away. You notice the subtle shimmer of water in the distance. Another stream. The baby shifts but remains calm, lulled by the movement, the cadence, the warmth of your back. You stop occasionally to examine plants, to harvest seeds that will be ground in a flour, bark that will become medicinal tea. Every action has meaning, purpose, consequence. Sustainability is baked into daily life. Overharvest, and there will be nothing left next season. This is not theory, it is survival. The groups that ignored this rhythm did not endure. Your younger cousin asks about bright red berries. Are they safe to eat? Your guide kneels beside her, tells the story of a harsh winter years ago when those berries sustained the group. She explains the preparation needed for safety. Humans are not only learning what to eat, they're learning the stories of survival, memory encoded in plants, lessons passed through generations. Time moves differently here. Hours are not tracked by clocks, but by light, by hunger, by the rhythm of the walk and the weight of the basket on your shoulder. Your body is fully engaged. Sight, touch, smell, hearing, balance, all working together in harmony. Every leaf, every root, every stone is information. You are both participant and observer. WY early afternoon. Your baskets are heavy. You are tired, shoulders aching, feet sore. Yet there is satisfaction here that modern humans rarely feel. This work is visible, tangible, meaningful. Every tuber dug, every berry collected, every root lifted from the soil is life. Not just yours, but the life of everyone in your band. The return journey begins. You retrace familiar paths, slowing occasionally to observe wildlife or check for signs of other humans. Your baskets are now full. Wild grapes, starchy roots, nuts, seeds, bark for medicine. You are bringing back not only food, but the accumulated knowledge of generations. As the rock shelter comes into view, the group's pace quickens slightly, not in haste, but in anticipation. The baby wakes, fussing for food. Your muscles ache, but you feel the quiet pride of contribution. The hunters may return tonight with nothing. Your work ensures that the group eats, survives, thrives. Reliability, not heroics, sustains life. Back at camp, baskets are emptied, food sorted, fire tended. Conversation hums in low tones. Children run, adults repair tools, mending baskets, sharpening knives. Skills are constantly reinforced. Observation, care, attention to detail. These are as crucial as any spear or knife. By the end of the afternoon, the group is settled again. Energy expended, work completed, survival ensured. You rest, observing the sun slowly decline. Shadows stretch across the shelter. Life is good. Not easy, not safe, not guaranteed, but rich, connected, deeply human. Late afternoon. The sun has begun its slow descent toward the horizon. The air cools gradually, carrying a softer, golden light that washes over the rock shelter and surrounding forest. Your muscles ache from the long walk. The weight of the baskets, the rhythmic bending and lifting of roots, the careful gathering of delicate berries. Every ache is a reminder of a day well spent, of hands and eyes fully engaged, of work that is meaningful and visible. Back at camp, the landscape feels familiar and welcoming. The shelter itself is a hub of activity, quiet at first, then slowly filling with the noises of return. The soft padding of feet on packed earth, the clatter of baskets, the muted rustle of hides as people adjust their positions after the day's exertions. Children emerge, chattering and laughing, carrying small finds, rocks, sticks, feathers, anything that caught their attention on the walk. Their energy is inexhaustible. They weave between adults, testing limits, learning social boundaries, and practicing the coordination that will serve them in future work. The first order of business is sorting and processing the day's harvest. Tubers are set aside near the fire for roasting. Roots are cleaned and peeled. Berries are grouped for immediate consumption or drying. Nuts are cracked, their sweet, oily kernels revealed. Every movement is deliberate. Every task carries knowledge, skill, and experience. You see the same motions repeated hundreds of times across the group. The older women peeling roots with meticulous attention, younger women learning by observation, teenage boys sharpening flint knives under the careful gaze of their elders. Education is continuous, hands-on, and woven into daily life. Meanwhile, the fire is being attended, embers coaxed to a gentle blaze that will last through the evening. Someone gathers dry twigs and small branches, feeding them into the flames, while another stirs the coals, distributing heat evenly across the cooking area. Fire management is an art, a science, a daily ritual of survival. A fire that dies means not just cold, but danger, predators, hypothermia, missed opportunities to cook food safely. It must be maintained constantly, its glow both practical and symbolic, a hearth, a meeting place, a focus for the day's transition into night. You notice the hunters returning, moving slowly but confidently through the underbrush. Some have returned empty-handed. Others carry small game, a rabbit, perhaps, or a partridge. The trophies of hunting are shared immediately with the group. Everyone takes part in distributing the meat, ensuring that calories are pooled, that children eat first if supplies are limited. The hunter does not feast first. Pride is private. Sustenance is public. Social cohesion is survival. Reciprocity is life itself. With the immediate work done, attention turns to tools and maintenance. Baskets are repaired, flint knives resharpened, wooden implements checked for cracks. Every tool has a story, a lineage. A digging stick might have been carved by your mother decades ago. A basket might have been woven by an aunt who learned from her mother. These objects are not disposable. They carry experience, knowledge, and survival encoded in their very fibers. As shadows lengthen, a subtle shift occurs in the camp. Work slows, movements become less urgent. Children gather closer to the fire, their cheeks glowing in the flickering light. Adults settle on rocks or hides, attending to small, deliberate tasks, spinning fibers into cordage, preparing pigments for painting, polishing bone tools. The rhythm of the day moves into a gentler tempo, one guided by fading light, the fire's warmth, and a shared sense of accomplishment. IT is here, in these moments, that storytelling begins. Not stories written in books, not scripted performances, but oral narratives woven from memory, observation, and imagination. Around the fire, voices rise and fall in cadence with the flames. One elder recounts a hunt from many seasons ago, the clever strategies used, the mistakes made, the animals encountered. Another tells a story of a thunderstorm that struck the valley, teaching lessons about caution, respect, and timing. Children listen raptly, learning both knowledge and ethics, the subtle rules of living in harmony with their environment and community. Storytelling is more than entertainment. It is education, cultural preservation, and emotional processing. Tales of survival, courage, caution, and even humor are passed down, encoded in narrative structures that the young internalize almost unconsciously. A story might describe the cleverness of a fox, a human error, or the heartbreak of a lost friend, teaching empathy, observation, and foresight simultaneously. These tales build collective memory, guiding behavior without written records. Somewhere in the circle, someone begins to hum or tap a rhythm on a hollow log. Soon, others join in, stomping feet, clapping hands, voice rising in unison. This is music, pure and communal. The sound is not refined or structured by formal rules, but it carries emotion, timing, and shared experience. The camp is alive with a rhythm older than any modern instrument, older than agriculture, older than cities. It is human expression distilled into its essence. Community, joy, and presence at the same time. Others are engaged in ritualized practices. Perhaps it is tending to sacred objects, arranging stones in meaningful patterns, or preparing pigments for the cave wall nearby. Symbolic activity is interwoven with daily life, not separate. The line between the practical and the spiritual is fluid. Burying a small object with care, painting a motif on a rock, marking a path with charcoal. These are acts that encode identity, memory, and connection with forces beyond immediate survival. Dinner begins as the fire reaches its peak warmth. Tubers are roasted directly in embers, their aroma filling the shelter. Meat is reheated and mixed with fats, dried berries, and nuts. This is not a meal of convenience. It is nourishment carefully prepared and shared, a culmination of the day's labor, knowledge, and attention. Children eat first, as the community's priority is the next generation. Adults eat later, often standing or moving between tasks, ensuring that the group remains balanced and secure. As night fully settles, the temperature drops. People huddle closer to the fire, leaning on each other for warmth and comfort. Conversation softens, laughter becomes quieter, and the day's tension, however minimal, dissolves. The sky, once gray and gold, is now deep indigo. Stars emerge one by one, unpolluted by artificial light. The Milky Way stretches overhead, a familiar tapestry that has guided humans for millennia. In this calm, reflective space, the human mind begins its own work. Thoughts wander between memory and imagination. Plans for tomorrow are considered, the day's lessons absorbed, subtle reflections on relationships and challenges emerge. Prehistoric humans, like us, have emotional and cognitive lives full of complexity. They are not merely reacting to the environment. They are interpreting it, learning from it, anticipating, remembering, imagining. The night is punctuated by quiet vigilance. Someone remains awake by the fire, checking the perimeter, listening for unfamiliar sounds, maintaining the fire. This is both practical and symbolic, a living embodiment of care and responsibility. The awake person ensures that the group's rest is safe, that the continuity of life is maintained. Sleep eventually returns, slower this time. The fire's glow fades to embers. The sounds of nocturnal animals fill the background. Adults lie on hides, children nestle nearby. Consciousness drifts, first heavy-lidded, then surrendered entirely to rest. The night is quiet but alive. The rhythms of this day, ordinary yet extraordinary, have ensured survival, learning, connection, and continuity. Tomorrow, the same patterns will emerge. Wakefulness, observation, gathering, teaching, cooking, storytelling, play, vigilance, and rest. Life is cyclical but never monotonous, rich in knowledge, social bonding, and subtle mastery of the environment. The hunter's glory is rare, but the gatherer's wisdom sustains the community every single day. In these ordinary moments, the vast machinery of survival turns silent, patient, and deeply human. Night has fully arrived. The fire in your rock shelter is reduced to glowing embers, red-orange sparks drifting lazily upward, vanishing into the darkness. The air has cooled further, carrying a faint earthy scent, damp stone, smoke, and the subtle musk of animals resting nearby. Above, the sky is immense and unobstructed. Stars are sharp points of light, constellations stretching across a velvet canvas. The Milky Way flows like a luminous river, ancient and constant. You notice how small you feel beneath it, yet how connected. This is the same sky humans have seen for tens of thousands of years, a constant companion and guide. Inside the shelter, the group settles into their sleeping arrangements. Adults and children lie on mats of dried grass, animal hides, or simply bare earth softened by the knowledge of previous nights. Body heat is shared generously. The young and the old are nestled between more active adults. Touch, warmth, and proximity are more than comfort. They are life-saving strategies, reducing heat loss and ensuring safety against predators or environmental hazards. Sleep is not uniform. Humans in the Paleolithic likely practiced what researchers today call polyphasic or biphasic sleep, sleeping in cycles interrupted by periods of quiet wakefulness. Some adults may rise during the night, stretching, observing, quietly tending the fire, or listening to the nocturnal sounds of the world. Children often sleep lightly, responsive to subtle movements or noises. There is always a portion of the group awake at any given time. It is collective vigilance, a shared responsibility encoded into human social behavior over millennia. The quiet moments of wakefulness are not idle. The person tending the fire observes shadows dancing along the walls of the shelter. Each flicker could hide danger. Perhaps a wolf prowls nearby, or a bear tests the limits of its territory. The trained eye can read the subtle signs of the environment. The rustle of leaves, the faint scent of an animal passing, the shifting sounds of distant water. Even in the absence of immediate threat, this attentiveness is habitual, a reflex shaped by evolution, ensuring that danger is anticipated rather than reacted to. Meanwhile, the mind wanders during these semi-conscious periods. Thoughts drift across memory and imagination. One may think about the events of the day, the tubers gathered, the berries found, the patterns of animal tracks. Another may consider the hunt planned for tomorrow, silently strategizing how to track a deer or fish along the river. Dreams and wakeful thought intermingle. The boundary between sleep and wakefulness is blurred. Stories told around the fire earlier may replay in the mind, morphing into visions or symbolic narratives. A vivid dream might be interpreted as a message, a warning, or guidance, adding layers of meaning to life that are intertwined with practical survival. Children, meanwhile, experience their own complex sleep cycles. Infants rest close to caregivers, their breathing a rhythm that reassures everyone nearby. Older children may wake briefly, call softly for comfort, or explore the darkness in curiosity. Each child's sleep is also a time of learning. Even in dreams, the brain processes the lessons of the day, plant identification, tracking techniques, social hierarchies, subtle cues about danger. Neurobiologists today would recognize this as memory consolidation, the active work of embedding survival skills into long-term memory. In some families, quiet communication continues during the night. A parent may whisper instructions to a sleeping child, reminding them of rules, dangers, or techniques. Perhaps a parent nudges a teenager awake to check a simple task, ensuring the fire remains covered or the tools are safe from the weather. These interventions are subtle but crucial, a continuous thread of knowledge transmission that stretches across generations. Unlike written records, this is oral, tactile, lived knowledge, encoded in gestures, whispers, and shared attention. The night is not only a time of vigilance and practical tasks, it is also a time for emotional processing. Humans in the Paleolithic, like us, experience fear, loss, love, hope, and joy. The death of an elder or the loss of a child is deeply felt, marked by ritual gestures even at night. The careful placement of a small token, a whispered word, a touch of remembrance. Joy, too, is processed. The laughter of children, the success of a gathered meal, the intimacy of companionship, or even the memory of a successful hunt. These circulate quietly in thought, shaping the emotional landscape of the group. Sleep in this environment is attuned to natural cycles of light and temperature. Unlike modern humans, there are no artificial lights, no alarms, no artificial pressures. Sleep begins when the environment allows, deepening in the darkest hours, lightening as the eastern sky hints at dawn. The body is in tune with circadian rhythms shaped by evolution. Hunger, temperature, and light dictate activity. Dreams occur in these cycles, vivid and meaningful, often related to events from the day or concerns about the immediate future. As the night deepens, sound from the outside world punctuate the darkness. The distant howl of a predator, the rustle of leaves from nocturnal animals, the call of an owl or nightbird. These sounds are not always threats. They are also information, cues about the environment. Humans in the Paleolithic were constantly interpreting these signals, learning patterns that help predict animal movements, weather changes, or potential danger. Every sound contributes to a mental map of the world, an ongoing awareness maintained even during sleep. Meanwhile, the fire, though diminished, glows faintly in a hearth dug shallowly into the earth. It is covered carefully with stones and embers to maintain warmth and safety. The smoke carries faint, calming scents of resin and wood, signaling life to anyone approaching and marking territory to other humans or predators. Fire is a symbol of life itself, a focus for security, comfort, and communal cohesion. Even during sleep, the fire is a sentinel. As the hours pass, shifts occur naturally. The person who is awake retires to sleep, while another takes their place at the fire. This rotation is informal, but essential, a silent contract between members of the band. It ensures that vigilance never fully lapses, that safety and continuity are maintained through cooperation and trust. The mind, body, and community all operate in interconnected cycles. Children are learning, adults are teaching, the environment is informing, and survival is woven into every heartbeat. Prehistoric humans did not measure time in minutes or hours. They measured it in cycles of attention, action, and rest. The rhythm of day and night, the ebb and flow of work and leisure, the constant learning embedded in every activity. This is the true pulse of human life 40,000 years ago. Eventually, the night passes slowly, predictably. Stars fade as the eastern sky lightens. Temperatures rise, air shifts, and subtle sounds of the forest signal the approach of dawn. Those awake begin to stir, quietly tending the fire, adjusting the sleeping arrangements, preparing for another day. The group, as always, is alert, cohesive, and ready, the lessons of the past day embedded in memory, the practicalities of survival secured, the social bonds reinforced. Morning will come again, not with alarms or schedules, but with the soft gray light of dawn, the warmth of body heat shared, the subtle scent of smoke in the air. The cycle begins anew, waking, tending, gathering, teaching, creating, laughing, sharing, sleeping. It is a rhythm sustained over tens of thousands of years, carried by humans whose lives were at once dangerous, delicate, ordinary, and profoundly rich that eye in this rhythm. One sees a truth that modern civilization often forgets, that life is not simply about survival or danger or heroic moments. It is about attention, knowledge, connection, and the careful weaving of each day into the next. Every root gathered, every story told, every ember tended, every star watched. These are acts of human persistence, ingenuity, and care. And when dawn breaks once more, as it always will, the cycle begins again, steady, patient, utterly human, and entirely alive. The gray light of dawn creeps over the horizon once again, spilling into the shelter in gentle, quiet waves. You awaken to the familiar scent of smoke, earth, and animal hides, a comfort that reassures you of continuity and safety. Bodies stir around you. Children yawn, stretching limbs stiff from sleep but eager to move. Adults rise slowly, muscles warming with careful stretches, yawns, and the subtle creaking of joints used to hard floors and the natural rhythm of movement. The day is beginning, as it always does, with the soft, steady pulse of life rather than the abrupt intrusion of clocks or alarms. Breakfast, or rather, the morning meal, follows patterns already familiar. Roots, berries, nuts, leftover meat, and fish are portioned carefully, shared in a way that reinforces social bonds. Conversation is quiet but alive. Observations from the night are exchanged. Tracks found near camp, unusual animal calls, a patch of wild onions that might soon be ready. These small notes guide the day's activities, a living calendar grounded in observation and experience. Today is different, though. Today, the hunters will depart. Hunting is not daily. It is a deliberate, high-stakes pursuit requiring coordination, strategy, and patience. Unlike gathering, which sustains the group steadily, hunting is episodic, a chance to bring in high-protein rewards, but also a chance for failure. It carries prestige, yes, but also risk. The hunters are not reckless. They are calm, prepared, and alert. You watch as several adult men and older boys gather near the edge of the forest, checking their tools. Spears are sharpened to fine points, hafts reinforced with sinew. Stone knives are polished, checked for cracks. Traps are inspected. Each step of preparation is methodical, practiced over years of repetition. There is conversation, but it is functional, sparse, focused on tactics, wind direction, animal behavior, and terrain. Every movement communicates knowledge. This is applied experience encoded into muscle memory. Meanwhile, the rest of the group prepares for a day without guaranteed meat. Gathering will be ongoing. Children follow their mothers and older siblings, learning to distinguish edible roots from toxic ones, to recognize bird calls, to identify the subtle discolorations in leaves that mark ripeness. Every moment is instruction by immersion, a process that modern classrooms cannot replicate. As the hunters depart, the air in the shelter feels different, charged with anticipation, a subtle undercurrent of tension. Tracking begins. Everyone knows the plan. The hunters will move quietly through the forest, reading tracks, noting broken branches, listening for distant sounds. They communicate silently with gestures, subtle signals honed over years. Their understanding of the landscape is astonishing. A snapped twig, a set of prints in soft earth, a broken berry stem, all become data points in a living mental map. Hours pass in parallel rhythms. The hunters move with grace and precision through the underbrush, muscles attuned to terrain, senses finely tuned to sound, smell, and sight. Their thoughts alternate between tactical calculation and fluid adaptation, reading the environment continuously. They are part hunter, part detective, part athlete, part human calculator, integrating intuition, experience, and observation. Back at camp, the gatherers work in complementary ways. You walk through familiar groves, collecting tubers, berries, seeds, and medicinal plants. Your young cousin toddles behind, asking endless questions. Each question becomes a story. Each observation, a lesson. A wild grape cluster is identified, its ripeness checked carefully by hand. Leaves are crushed between fingers to test for bitterness, smell, or toxicity. Roots are dug carefully, always leaving part of the plant to regenerate. This is sustainable harvesting, a practice without a word yet fully understood. Every action carries awareness of future seasons, future generations, a sense of responsibility that is almost sacred. Late morning brings another layer to the day: tool and art creation. Some adults return from gathering with bones, stones, and hides. They begin carving, smoothing, shaping. Not for mere decoration, but for function and ritual. A flint point is prepared, its edges carefully refined. A bone is carved into a pendant, perhaps symbolic, perhaps utilitarian. Pigments are ground for minerals, charcoal, ochre, and mixed with animal fat or plant oils. Brushes are fashioned from fibers and feathers. The process is patient and meditative, a blend of utility, aesthetics, and tradition. Art is not separate from life. It is life. A freshly painted motif on the rock wall tells a story of last season's hunt, or encodes a lesson about animal behavior. Another pattern may represent communal identity, marking this territory as shared space or signaling spiritual beliefs. Children watch intently, learning through observation. They see not just technique, but intention, the interplay of skill, creativity, and meaning. Each brushstroke, each carved line is embedded with the knowledge of generations. Midday, the hunters have often returned. Some bring prey, others return empty-handed. The atmosphere shifts subtly. Success is celebrated quietly but meaningfully. The meat is divided according to established norms. Children and elders first, then the rest of the group. Even an unsuccessful hunt carries value. The act of hunting teaches young participants, tests skills, and reinforces social bonds. It is as much about learning and cohesion as about calories. As afternoon arrives, the group engages in social and ritualized activities. Some elders lead small ceremonies, perhaps a remembrance of ancestors, a blessing for future hunts, or a rite marking the growth of a child into competence. Ritual is integrated seamlessly with daily life. It is neither performative nor separate from survival. It is a layer of meaning superimposed upon ordinary activities. Every gesture, every pattern, every recitation carries practical and symbolic weight. Children continue to play nearby, running, wrestling, and exploring. Play is not frivolous. It develops physical coordination, social negotiation, and problem-solving skills. A chase game teaches awareness of terrain. A mock hunt teaches strategy and timing. A cooperative task reinforces group cohesion. Laughter echoes, but it is functional as well as joyful. Meanwhile, the rhythm of the seasons is ever present. Today, the air carries the subtle hint of spring growth. Soon, certain berries will ripen. Certain roots will become fibrous. The hunters and gatherers adjust their movements accordingly. Observations made today will inform decisions weeks in the future. Patterns are memorized, where mushrooms appear after rain, which plants flourish on south-facing slopes, where animals seek water. The landscape itself is a living calendar, a map of resources and risks that must be read continuously. Evening arrives, bringing a new layer of calm. The fire is rekindled to warmth. Meat and roots are cooked slowly in coals. The group gathers around the flames. The day's lessons are recounted, stories are told, songs are hummed, and art continues in the soft glow. Observations from the hunt and gathering are shared. Young hunters learn from elders. Children learn the subtleties of plants and animals. Adults discuss strategies for the next day. This is the heartbeat of communal knowledge, where survival, culture, and joy converge. The night stretches again, stars scattered like dust across the sky. Sleep will come, slow and communal, punctuated by periods of wakefulness for vigilance and reflection. The cycle continues: dawn, gathering, hunting, learning, creating, sharing, sleeping. Each day builds upon the last. Each individual contributes to the continuity of the group, and each day strengthens the intricate web of knowledge, skill, and human connection that defines prehistoric life that I end this endless rhythm. One sees a pattern both ordinary and profound. That human life is not defined solely by dramatic moments, but by the patient accumulation of knowledge, the nurturing of skill, the sharing of stories, the careful tending of relationships, and the perpetual attention to the natural world. The hunt may bring glory, the fire may warm, the stars may guide, but it is the interwoven, ordinary actions of daily life that sustain humanity across generations. The passage of days stretches into weeks, and weeks into months. Time is measured not by clocks or calendars, but by the rhythms of the sun, the behavior of animals, the bloom and decay of plants, and the shifting weather patterns. Spring moves toward summer. Leaves unfurl with delicate green fingers. Insects begin to hum, and the rivers swell from melted snow and spring rains. The camp adjusts. Firewood is gathered with attention to future needs. Shelters are repaired with thatched leaves and carefully positioned rocks. Your band lives in harmony with the seasons, attuned to the subtle shifts that dictate what can be eaten, where it can be found, and how to survive the changes ahead. Spring brings new growth. Roots that were too fibrous in winter become soft and edible. Berries swell and ripen. Young animals are born in the forests and meadows. It is a time of abundance, but also of vigilance. Young animals attract predators, water sources shift, and weather can change abruptly. Knowledge of these cycles is embedded in memory, in song, in story, and in practice. Some days are spent entirely in observation and scouting, walking miles across valleys, ridges, and rivers. The group carries knowledge like a map in their minds. Which streams run low in summer, which meadows bloom with edible flowers, where the deer cross in predictable patterns, where dangerous predators have been recently spotted. Children accompany adults, learning these patterns slowly, intimately. They are taught not through lectures, but through immersion, through experience, repetition, and storytelling. Stories are more than entertainment. They are instructional, moral, ecological, and social. Around the fire at night, elders tell tales of past hunts, lessons learned from mistakes, encounters with dangerous predators, or near-starvation episodes that taught the value of preparation. These stories are layered. They encode survival knowledge, transmit cultural values, and reinforce the group's identity. The younger generation learns the moral logic of cooperation, the importance of attentiveness, and the subtle ways humans influence and are influenced by the world around them. Migration is another pulse of life. As seasons shift, the band may move to follow herds, fish runs, or ripening fruits. This movement is deliberate and informed. Elders remember the terrain and the timing of resources from previous years, sometimes decades earlier. Families travel together, carrying children, tools, and stored food. Shelters are temporary, yet intimate, constructed in ways that maximize warmth, safety, and efficiency. Every journey is a combination of endurance, ecological knowledge, and social coordination. During migration, knowledge transfer continues uninterrupted. Children ask endless questions. Why does the river bend here? How do we know that berries will ripen there? How can we tell one root from another? Answers are embedded in demonstration and story, not abstraction. The land is a classroom, and survival is the curriculum. The young learn not only facts, but judgment, intuition, and patience. They internalize a worldview in which humans are participants in a living landscape, rather than its conquerors. Hunting and gathering continue in new locations. Some days the hunt is small, tracking a rabbit, setting snares, or collecting shellfish along the coastline. Other days, the band may encounter opportunities for larger prey. A herd of deer crossing a valley, a wild boar rooting near a stream. Such events are carefully orchestrated. Hunters move quietly, communicate subtly, and rely on collective intuition and practice coordination. The thrill is tempered by knowledge. Success is measured not only in calories, but in safety, sustainability, and skill. Gathering remains the backbone of daily survival. Plant foods, roots, seeds, nuts, berries, and mushrooms dominate the diet. The band moves carefully through forests and plains, reading the subtle signs that signal readiness or toxicity. Some plants are medicinal, providing remedies for fevers, wounds, or digestive distress. Others are multi-purpose, fibers for cordage, hides for clothing, bones for tools, pigments for art. Every object in the landscape has potential value if one knows how to interpret it. Observation, memory, and judgment are as essential as strength or speed. Evenings are reserved for ritual, reflection, and social cohesion. Some nights, the group dances around the fire, stamping patterns that mimic animal movement, the rhythm of wind, or the cycles of the moon. Others, they tell stories of ancestors, weaving myth, ecology, and morality together. Some children begin to experiment with their own art, drawing symbols in the dirt, carving small figures from bone or wood. These acts are simultaneously play, education, and cultural preservation. Each stroke, each mark, carries the weight of generations and the promise of continuity. Love and companionship thread through daily life. Partnerships are formed, maintained, and expressed through subtle gestures. Shared labor, cooperative child-rearing, intimacy, and mutual protection. Elders provide wisdom and mentorship, while younger adults test their skills, innovate techniques, and learn patience. Children bond through play, observation, and shared responsibility. Social structures are fluid yet deeply functional, emerging from the collective needs and capabilities of the group. As night falls again, the group settles, fires burn low but embers glow. Sleep returns, with its mixture of deep rest and vigilant watchfulness. Some members awaken in the night, tending fire, checking for danger, comforting children, or reflecting quietly on dreams. Dreams may offer insight or warning, often interpreted in context with the knowledge accumulated from lived experience. The night is simultaneously restorative, instructive, and protective. Across seasons, years, and decades, this rhythm persists. Humans move with the land, respond to its signals, learn from one another, and adapt to the endless variation of the environment. There are moments of scarcity, danger, and loss. There are moments of abundance, celebration, and creativity. But through it all, Life is woven from knowledge, attention, cooperation, and care. Each day is a thread in a tapestry of human experience, stretching across centuries, centuries that eventually give rise to the present moment you inhabit now. That I end this way. Prehistoric life was deeply complex, richly emotional, and profoundly human. Far from a simplistic image of brutish struggle, it was a life of rhythm, connection, learning, creativity, and subtle mastery of the world. Humans 40,000 years ago were not merely surviving. They were thriving in ways attuned to their environment, each other, and the passage of time. They lived lives filled with observation, care, joy, sorrow, storytelling, learning, and creation, a pulse that connects us to them across the millennia. Life in the Paleolithic was punctuated by moments that carried extraordinary significance. Birth, coming of age, union, and death. These events were neither private nor casual. They were communal experiences, deeply intertwined with survival, social cohesion, and the transmission of knowledge. Each milestone reinforced the group's identity, strengthened bonds, and ensured the continuity of culture. That let's begin with birth. It is early morning, the sun barely spilling light into the shelter. A young woman prepares to give birth, surrounded by female relatives and a few trusted men who understand their roles. The air is thick with anticipation and care. There are no hospitals, no instruments, no medications beyond the natural remedies and knowledge passed down over generations. Yet, the process is neither chaotic nor purely painful. The group knows the rhythms of birth, the subtle cues, the ways to ease discomfort, and the techniques to ensure the survival of both mother and child. Women guide each other through labor, their hands firm yet gentle, their voices soft and encouraging. Infants are caught, cleaned, and warmed immediately. Mothers rest, supported by their families, while the newborn is nursed, swaddled in softened hides, and introduced to the community through careful rituals. These moments are both practical and spiritual. Birth is a triumph of life and continuity, a reminder of the group's resilience and the shared responsibility that sustains it. Childhood is immersive and exploratory, interwoven with observation, play, and responsibility. Children are never idle. They learn by imitation, by repetition, and through storytelling. They experiment with tools under supervision, track animals in miniature games, mimic hunting strategies, or tend small plant plots. The community teaches them knowledge of plants, animals, weather patterns, and social norms, not in classrooms, but through daily life itself. Mistakes are corrected gently, often with stories or demonstrations. Over time, this method produces individuals who are both resourceful and wise. Coming of age is marked not by arbitrary ceremonies, but by demonstrable competence and contribution. A young adolescent may be asked to track animals independently, navigate the terrain alone, or lead a small gathering expedition. These challenges test skill, patience, and judgment. Successful completion is recognized through communal acknowledgement, a shared meal, a painted marking on a tool, or a token of symbolic importance. The group celebrates both the individual's growth and the collective investment that enabled it. Marriage and partnership are equally pragmatic and symbolic. Bonds form through shared responsibility, mutual respect, and recognition of complementary skills. Couples often work together in hunting, gathering, child-rearing, and tool-making. Love is expressed subtly through care, cooperation, and intimacy integrated into daily life rather than abstract ceremony. Partnerships strengthen social cohesion and create stable environments for children, ensuring the perpetuation of knowledge and survival strategies. Death is another central and deeply meaningful aspect of life. When someone dies, the group observes rituals that both honor the individual and reinforce communal identity. Bodies may be buried with care, sometimes with tools, pigments, or personal belongings. These grave goods are not mere decoration. They are expressions of respect, memory, and perhaps belief in continued existence beyond physical life. Mourning is collective. Songs are sung, stories recounted, tears shed. The young witness these moments, learning the gravity of life and the importance of community. Life and death, birth and burial, are embedded in ritualized understanding of time and continuity. The natural cycles of the sun, moon, and seasons mirror human life. Growth, maturity, decline, renewal. Spirituality is not separate from survival. It is embedded in observation and experience. Certain animals are seen as teachers or symbols. Celestial bodies are tracked to anticipate seasonal shifts. Symbolic art, carvings, and cave paintings reflect reverence for the world, recording both practical knowledge and mythic narrative. Intergroup connections add another layer of complexity. Bands are not isolated. They may encounter other groups along migration routes or near resource-rich areas. Exchanges occur, sometimes goods, sometimes knowledge, sometimes marriage partners. These interactions are guided by tacit rules of diplomacy, signaling, and mutual benefit. Conflict is possible, yet so is cooperation, trade, and cultural transmission. Through these networks, innovation spread. New hunting techniques, novel tools, artistic motifs, or medicinal practices. Culture is cumulative, built through collaboration and experience across generations. Work itself is purposeful yet diverse. Beyond hunting and gathering, the band engages in tool making, clothing production, shelter construction, fire maintenance, and artistic creation. Each task is both practical and educational. The young observe, imitate, and eventually innovate. Skills are embedded in objects, in gestures, in shared knowledge, ensuring survival while nurturing creativity. Art, in particular, provides a window into human imagination. Carvings on bone, decorated hides, cave paintings of animals, and abstract patterns. These works encode stories, lessons, and communal memory. They are both aesthetic and functional, guiding understanding of animal behavior, seasonal cycles, and group identity. Even ordinary activities, cleaning tools, weaving baskets, tending fires, carry layers of significance. Children learn the exact technique to shape baskets, to hold maximum weight without breaking, to prepare hides that will last months, to maintain fire without wasting fuel. Attention to detail, patience, and repetition are valued as much as raw strength. These routines cultivate dexterity, focus, and endurance. They embed ecological and technical knowledge in practical experience. Nighttime reinforces social bonds and knowledge transmission. After a day of labor, hunting, and gathering, the group gathers around the fire. The rhythm is deliberate. Stories are told, songs sung, observations shared. Some speak of dreams or visions. Others recount the day's successes and failures. Children ask questions. Adults answer patiently. The fire becomes a center of memory, learning, and reflection, connecting the living with ancestors and the cycles of nature. Through decades of such rhythms, knowledge accumulates and adapts. Each generation inherits a repository of ecological, technological, and social intelligence. They know the movements of animals, the locations of edible and medicinal plants, how to interpret weather, track prey, and maintain tools. They know which partnerships strengthen the group, which behaviors provoke conflict, which rituals sustain memory and identity. This cumulative wisdom is the real treasure of Paleolithic life, far more enduring than the occasional success of a hunt or the fleeting thrill of discovery. The emotional richness of this world is profound. Joy comes in play, discovery, shared meals, and artistry. Love is expressed through care, protection, and partnership. Pride emerges in skillful accomplishment, competence, and contribution to the group. Grief is intense and communal, yet teaches resilience, empathy, and the importance of legacy. Humans 40,000 years ago lived full lives. Lives that were practical, beautiful, challenging, and deeply social. As the stars emerge in the night sky, reflecting in rivers and dewdrops, the band rests in a fragile but confident equilibrium. The rhythm of days and seasons continues, carrying life forward with a balance of labor, learning, care, and celebration. Knowledge passes from elder to child, experience to novice, observation to story. Life, death, art, and work are intertwined seamlessly. Humanity persists not through singular acts of heroism, but through sustained attention, cooperation, and the accumulation of shared wisdom. And as sleep takes over, the fire's embers glow softly, the wind whispers through leaves, and the ancestors' presence, seen in the patterns of stars, the rustle of animals, and the stories told, reminds the living that life is part of continuity far greater than the individual, stretching back for countless generations and forward into the unknown. As centuries roll forward, human life becomes increasingly shaped not just by survival, but by imagination and innovation. Early humans begin to notice patterns not only in the world around them, but within themselves. How fire transforms food, how stone can be shaped to cut more efficiently, how music and rhythm affect mood and coordination. Observation evolves into experimentation, and experimentation into systematic knowledge. The creation of tools becomes both a practical necessity and an exercise in foresight. Stone tools are no longer simply jag fragments. Knappers shape flint into points, scrapers, and blades with careful precision, understanding angles, pressure, and sequence. The process itself is teaching, learning, and artistry combined. Every strike, every flake removed from the stone carries information that will last thousands of years, evidence of human intelligence encoded in rock. But tools are only the beginning. Humans start to see the world symbolically, marking objects, surfaces, and bodies with meaning. Pigments made from charcoal, ochre, and minerals are applied to skin, hides, and cave walls. Patterns emerge: geometric shapes, animal depictions, abstract marks. These are not random doodles. They encode knowledge, represent stories, convey identity, and signal belonging. They create shared language beyond words, a visual vocabulary that bridges generations. Language itself is evolving. Words, gestures, and vocal tones allow coordination beyond immediate context. Hunting parties communicate silently with signals or verbally over distance. Elders instruct novices in plant knowledge, in navigation, in crafting tools, all through complex communication that demands memory, nuance, and abstract thought. Stories and myths become repositories for lessons, moral guidance, and ecological intelligence. When a child asks why the river bends in a certain way, the answer comes not as a lecture, but as a story intertwined with observation, warning, and memory. Music, rhythm, and performance begin to shape social life as well. Early humans create flutes from bone, drums from stretched hides, and percussive instruments from hollowed logs or stones. Music is integrated into work, ritual, and play. The rhythm of drums coordinates group movement during hunts. Songs are used to remember migration paths, seasonal changes, and plant cycles. Lullabies soothe infants and embed early knowledge of sound and story. Dancing, clapping, and chanting create shared emotional experience, reinforcing bonds and memory. Innovation is not limited to tools, art, or language. It extends to shelter, clothing, and fire use. Hides are sewn together with plant fibers, sometimes decorated with patterns that signify clan, status, or accomplishment. Fire is used not only for warmth and cooking, but for shaping tools, hardening points, softening fibers, and even preserving food. Communities experiment with storing dried meats, roasting roots, fermenting berries, and creating simple preservation methods. Each innovation is cultural intelligence in action, increasing survival while enriching daily life. Trade and interaction between groups allow innovations to spread. A hunting tool perfected in one valley might appear hundreds of miles away a generation later. Shell beads, pigments, and carved figures travel across landscapes. These items carry both practical value and symbolic meaning, showing that early humans were capable of long-range thinking, planning, and social networks. Their world is not static. It is dynamic, interconnected, and cumulative. Art, music, and symbolic practice also reinforce social cohesion and identity. The cave walls, carved figurines, and decorated objects act as anchors for communal memory. They are reminders of who the group is, where it has been, and what it values. Rituals, often synchronized with seasonal or celestial events, tie humans to both the land and the cosmos. Observing the solstice, tracking lunar cycles, marking animal migrations. These are both practical tools and spiritual acts. Blending survival with meaning, as life continues, humans begin to anticipate the future in increasingly sophisticated ways. They recognize patterns in animal behavior, plant cycles, and weather, then plan labor, hunting, gathering, and migration accordingly. Camps are positioned with foresight, storage strategies are developed, and knowledge is passed deliberately across generations. This ability to predict, plan, and teach is one of the defining traits of humanity. Conflict and cooperation between bands shape culture as well. Groups occasionally compete for resources or territory, but they also exchange knowledge, mate, and collaborate. Negotiation, signaling, and alliances become embedded in social practice. The ability to maintain cohesion, manage disputes, and coordinate across distance is as vital as the ability to hunt or gather. Intelligence is measured not just in strength, but in wisdom, judgment, and social skill. Through all of this, work, play, ritual, art, storytelling, music, and social coordination, humanity is creating cultural memory and identity. Knowledge accumulates. Which plants are safe? How seasons affect animal migration? Which tools are most effective? Which symbols hold meaning? Which stories preserve lessons? This is cumulative culture, a defining characteristic of our species. Unlike any other animal, humans can build upon the knowledge of predecessors, refine it, and pass it to the next generation. Every day is a delicate balance: survival, creativity, social cohesion, learning, and emotional richness. Every night, as the fire burns low, the group rests but remains vigilant and reflective, connecting the present to the past and imagining the future. Life is neither frantic nor entirely predictable. It is a rhythm, a pattern, a flow, marked by attention, care, and consciousness. Even the smallest actions carry weight. Choosing which berry patch to harvest, how to store tubers, where to place a new fire pit, which tool to sharpen, how to tend the sick or injured, all are decisions with immediate and long-term consequences. The prehistoric human is a master of complexity, living in constant negotiation with nature, society, and self that in this world. Progress is not measured by speed or accumulation, but by sustainability, knowledge retention, and social cohesion. The hunter who brings down a deer is celebrated, but the gatherer who secures daily nourishment is equally vital. The artist, the storyteller, the toolmaker, the healer, all are valued, because each contributes to the web of survival and culture. By the end of a day, as darkness settles and the sky fills with stars, humans lie down to sleep, warm beside one another, with the knowledge that tomorrow will bring similar rhythms. Walking, gathering, learning, creating, sharing, observing. Each generation adds to the cumulative memory of the group. Each night preserves lessons in stories, songs, and dreams. Each day reinforces the human capacity for reflection, innovation, and connection. And as you listen to this story, you can feel the echo of that life. The slow dawns, the careful attention to the land, the laughter of children, the glow of fire, the pulse of music and rhythm, the depth of stories, and the unbroken chain of culture stretching across tens of thousands of years, reaching forward into your own experience, tying you to the earliest humans who walked, observed, loved, and created. By. Now, your day has stretched from the gray dawn through labor, learning, play, and creation into the soft glow of late afternoon. But human life 40,000 years ago is never merely about the passage of hours. It is about relationships, both with each other and with the wider environment. Every action, every decision, is situated within a complex web of ecological, social, and temporal understanding. The first realization is that humans are part of a network that extends far beyond the shelter, beyond the immediate band. Every choice influences more than one life. A decision about where to harvest tubers, which trees to prune, which hunting grounds to respect, shapes the availability of resources for weeks, months, or even years. Early humans are acutely aware of seasonality. They track which berries ripen when fish migrate upriver, when deer give birth, when insects emerge. This is knowledge accumulated over generations, not written in books, but etched into memory and reinforced by ritual and storytelling. For example, the band knows that the Northern Valley floods every late spring. They avoid setting up camp there during that period, but the same valley offers abundant roots and edible plants once the waters recede. These cycles are anticipated, not reacted to. Children learn to read the sky, the clouds, the color of leaves, the behavior of birds, the swelling of buds. They understand time ecologically rather than numerically. Each sign is a cue. What to gather, where to hunt, when to move. This knowledge is crucial for survival and prosperity. Social organization is similarly sophisticated. There is no rigid hierarchy, yet there is structure. Decisions emerge from consensus, experience, and demonstrated competence. Elders guide, but they do not dictate. The most skilled hunter does not command, but the group follows because it is practical to do so. Conflict resolution is handled through negotiation, storytelling, and sometimes ritualized displays. Even children are taught early how to navigate social rules, sharing, cooperation, observing subtle cues, and respecting communal knowledge that lets follow the band as the afternoon unfolds. Hunters return from a reconnaissance patrol. They have not made a kill, but they bring critical information. Tracks leading to a herd of deer on a distant hillside, the locations of fallen fruit that could not be reached before, or signs of a predator to be wary of. This information is shared immediately, discussed, and integrated into planning. Perhaps the hunters will rest until the next morning, while gatherers continue to secure plant resources. Everyone's role is interconnected, their actions complementary, their successes intertwined. Children, now older, take on increasingly meaningful responsibilities. They carry smaller baskets, assist in digging roots, and learn to navigate terrain safely. Adolescents may be sent to gather water, track animal signs, or practice flint knapping under supervision. Every task is practice and contribution simultaneously. Mistakes are tolerated, but corrected carefully, for each error is both a learning opportunity and a potential hazard. By early adulthood, these individuals are repositories of ecological, technical, and social knowledge, capable of carrying the band forward. Ecological mastery extends to predicting animal behavior. Humans observe patterns, which valleys deer prefer at dawn, where predators sleep during the day, how fish respond to river temperatures. They notice subtleties invisible to outsiders, a subtle depression in the soil, signaling burrowing animals, or a faint scent of berries attracting birds. They understand that life is nested and relational. The survival of one species influences the survival of another, and ultimately, the survival of humans. Tools are maintained meticulously. Stone blades are resharpened at precise angles. Spears are hardened by fire. Digging sticks are carefully smoothed. These are not incidental chores. They are acts of care, of planning, and of foresight. A well-maintained tool saves hours of labor and prevents injury. Knowledge about tools is passed deliberately. The apprentice observes, mimics, and eventually innovates, always guided by accumulated wisdom. Ritual and spiritual practice continue to structure time and reinforce understanding. Certain sites, rocks, caves, streams, are marked with pigments, carvings, or patterns to encode knowledge and memory. Seasonal ceremonies track solstices, migrations, or harvests. These are not mere superstition. They are timed interventions in the environment, reminders to gather specific foods, move camps, or hunt particular animals. They create a rhythm that aligns human activity with ecological cycles. By evening, gatherers return with baskets full, not only of food, but of knowledge. The berries collected were carefully chosen, the roots harvested sustainably, and the shells or seeds preserved for future planting or observation. Sharing and distribution occurs immediately. Food is a social glue, a conduit for learning, and a measure of care. Adults eat enough to maintain energy, children are fed first, and surplus is stored for leaner days. These practices are collective memory in action, ensuring continuity and resilience. Night descends. The group assembles around the fire once more. This is a time for reflection, teaching, and cultural transmission. Elders recount events of a day, integrate ecological lessons, and weave stories that teach morals, survival, and practical knowledge. Children absorb these lessons effortlessly, guided by narrative rather than rote memorization. Music accompanies some tales, bone flutes, percussion on hollow logs, rhythmic clapping. The melodies are simple but evocative, binding the community emotionally and cognitively. Dreams are discussed openly. A dream of a predator or a fruitful berry patch is not dismissed. It is interpreted and tested. Dreams may guide where hunters explore tomorrow or which plants to gather. The boundary between observation, reflection, and imagination is fluid, enhancing problem solving and foresight. Even mundane activities, repairing baskets, sharpening stones, tending fires, are woven into social and cultural life. These moments are didactic and communal, ensuring that knowledge is constantly reinforced. A young adult might learn the precise angle to cut a flint edge or the exact method to weave a basket that can carry maximum weight without breaking. These skills, while practical, are also expressions of creativity and mastery. As sleep approaches, the band lies near the dying embers. Conversations fade to murmurs. Laughter gives way to quiet sighs, and the forest or plains beyond provide a natural lullaby. The rustle of leaves, distant calls of nocturnal animals, the whisper of wind across water. Sleep is deep yet alert, for vigilance is never fully absent. The night carries threats, but also the promise of renewal. The cycle continues, unbroken, each day a rhythm of survival, innovation, learning, and social cohesion. Humans 40,000 years ago are not merely surviving. They are thriving within the parameters of their world. They are adaptable, attentive, socially intelligent, and deeply connected to the land. Knowledge is cumulative, passed meticulously from one generation to the next. Art, ritual, music, and storytelling are not luxuries. They're central to learning, memory, cohesion, and identity. Every aspect of life is purposeful, meaningful, and interconnected. And through it all, there is a sense of continuity. Individuals come and go, seasons change, predators and prey move in cycles, but the band persists. Knowledge grows, culture accumulates, innovation spread, communities adapt. Life is a tapestry of survival, creativity, and meaning, a rhythm that has echoed for tens of thousands of years and continues to resonate in us today. That be why reflecting on this world, its rhythms, its attention to detail, its communal care, we begin to understand what humanity truly is, a species defined not just by survival, but by memory, imagination, cooperation, and the ability to shape the world thoughtfully and creatively. As night deepens and the fire smolders low, the band does not simply sleep. They are reflecting, learning, and planning. For early humans, life is both immediate and long-term. Every action ripples into the future. Every choice about tools, movement, food, or ritual contributes to the cultural and ecological inheritance of the group. By 40,000 years ago, humans are no longer simply reacting to the world. They're shaping it carefully, deliberately, and sometimes unconsciously. Consider tools. What begins as a sharp flake of flint becomes a complex toolkit designed to address a variety of needs: cutting, scraping, piercing, digging, and carving. Each tool is tailored to its purpose, often maintained for years. Broken points are repaired or reshaped. Handles are replaced. New designs are experimented with and shared. Knowledge of these tools is transmitted with precision and care, not as abstract instructions, but through practice, observation, and storytelling. A child might watch an elder nap a stone for hours, noting the subtle angle of the wrist, the way pressure is applied, the sound and feel of a successful strike. Every successful blade carries the accumulated wisdom of countless previous makers, a tangible link across generations. Art emerges alongside tool mastery. Cave walls, once blank and silent, become living narratives. Animal forms, hunting scenes, abstract patterns, and symbolic marks are painted and carved with pigments made from minerals, plants, and charcoal. These markings are not decoration alone. They encode information, memory, and identity. They tell stories of successful hunts, seasonal abundance, and encounters with danger. They mark territory, signal alliances, or honor ancestors. They are both practical and profoundly human, capturing a sense of who the group is, where it lives, and what it values. Language amplifies these innovations. Words, gestures, and tone convey precise ecological, social, and technical knowledge. Move upstream. The river will rise, or those berries are ripe, but only after the sun hits the northern slope are instructions, warnings, and insights wrapped in narrative. Stories encode lessons in survival, morality, and cooperation. A tale of a deer narrowly escaping hunters may teach tracking skills. A fable of a poisonous plant warns the next generation not to make the same fatal mistake. Language becomes the bridge between memory and foresight, allowing humans to project knowledge beyond their immediate experience. Music and rhythm remain integral. Drums, bone flutes, clapping, and vocalizations accompany daily life, rituals, and work. Music is not simply entertainment. It coordinates labor, reinforces memory, and strengthens social bonds. A rhythmic chant may guide a group across uneven terrain, synchronizing movement during a hunt or gathering. Lullabies transmit knowledge gently to infants, while communal songs encode maps, seasonal information, or spiritual beliefs. Rhythm is cognition in motion, a subtle but powerful way of structuring human attention and memory. Spiritual and ritual life intertwines with observation and practical knowledge. Certain locations, a grove, a cave, a river bend, hold special significance. Objects such as carved figurines, shells, or decorated bones may be buried, displayed, or carried. These acts are not mere superstition. They are ways of organizing knowledge, marking transitions, and reinforcing social cohesion. Seasonal ceremonies align human activity with ecological cycles, migrations, plant growth, animal births, and weather patterns. Ritual becomes a tool for ecological intelligence, teaching the group how to live in harmony with the landscape while reinforcing shared identity. Early humans are also proto-landscape architects. They move across their territory with awareness of impact, which plants to harvest, which roots to leave for regrowth, how to maintain fire without destroying resources. Campsites are rotated to prevent overuse. Hearths are placed to optimize warmth without denuding the surroundings, and hunting patterns are designed to sustain prey populations. Humans 40,000 years ago are partners with the land, learning, experimenting, and planning across seasons and years. Children grow up immersed in this intricate web of knowledge. By adolescence, they navigate terrain, identify hundreds of plant species, track animals, and participate in coordinated hunts and gatherings. By observing elders, experimenting, and listening to stories, they acquire practical, ecological, and social intelligence simultaneously. Mistakes are corrected gently but decisively. Successes are acknowledged and repeated. Education is lifelong, immersive, and embedded in daily life, not abstract or separate from experience. Hunting, while dramatic, remains occasional and strategic. Success is celebrated, but it is not the sole focus. Hunting requires skill, patience, and careful planning, often relying on intelligence, cooperation, and intimate knowledge of the terrain and animal behavior. Failed hunts are recorded in memory and stories, teaching future hunters what worked what didn't, and why. Meanwhile, gathering remains the backbone of sustenance, requiring constant attention to the rhythms of the landscape, plant maturation, and sustainable harvesting practices. Even social systems reflect sophistication. Decisions are distributed, emergent, and adaptive. There is no single leader issuing commands. Authority is situational, based on expertise and knowledge. Those who excel in a particular domain, plant knowledge, hunting, tool-making, or spiritual insight, become guides for specific tasks. Cooperation is reinforced through reciprocity, storytelling, and ritual, ensuring that all contributions are recognized and integrated. Social bonds are strengthened not only by shared labor, but also by shared knowledge, shared art, and shared attention to the natural world. Memory, both individual and collective, is central. Humans do not write, but the world itself becomes a living archive. Trees, rivers, rocks, animal tracks, and even the patterns of stars are all read and interpreted. Knowledge is encoded in stories, songs, gestures, and patterns of work. Every trip to gather berries, every sharpening of a blade, every dance or chant is a rehearsal of knowledge, a reinforcement of memory, and a preparation for the future. Be why the time night deepens into silence. Humans rest with a profound sense of continuity, purpose, and connection. They are aware of their place in a world that is alive, structured, and patterned, and of their role as both learners and teachers, innovators and conservators. Every action carries weight. A choice to leave a route for next season, a careful repair of a tool, a story told to a child. These choices ensure survival, sustain culture, and build a bridge between past and future. In this way, early humans are not simply surviving. They are actively shaping themselves and the world. Their lives are rhythms of observation, experimentation, creation, and reflection. Every dawn brings opportunities to learn, to teach, to innovate, and to bond. Every dusk carries lessons from the day, integrated into stories, songs, rituals, and memory. Life is intimate, deliberate, and deeply human, a blend of survival, knowledge, creativity, and social cohesion that continues to echo in the way we live today. Why understanding this world, the rhythms of labor and leisure, the intricacy of social life, the depth of ecological knowledge, the creativity of art and music, the sophistication of tools, and the care embedded in ritual. We glimpse the full scope of what it means to be human. Humans are not merely biological machines or passive animals. They are innovators, observers, storytellers, and architects of both culture and environment, carrying the accumulated wisdom of tens of thousands of years, creating patterns that will ripple into the distant future. And so, as another day closes and embers fade into the night, the band sleeps surrounded by knowledge, culture, and the quiet certainty of continuity. Life 40,000 years ago may be alien in its details, but it is deeply familiar in essence. Curiosity, care, cooperation, creativity, and the unending drive to understand, shape, and belong. Night has settled fully over the landscape, and the forest, or the grassland, or the river valley, rests in its natural rhythms. The band is quiet, lying near the fire's last embers. Yet even in this quiet, the work of survival continues, not through immediate action, but through memory, planning, and the anticipation of what tomorrow and the coming seasons will require. Life 40,000 years ago is measured not merely in hours or days, but in cycles. The growth of plants, the migration of animals, the patterns of weather, and the passage of generations. Every adult in the band carries knowledge accumulated over decades. The elder who taught the younger generation to distinguish edible roots also knows how to read clouds for storms, when river currents rise, and which animal tracks signal danger. That knowledge is priceless, passed orally and through practice. Each story, each demonstration, each careful correction of a young person's error is a thread in a web of cultural continuity that ensures the survival of not just the individual, but of the entire community. Some of this knowledge is immediate and practical, like which tubers to harvest or how to repair a spear. Some is long-term and abstract, like seasonal patterns that predict food availability months in advance, or the habits of a predator whose territory overlaps with the band's. These patterns are learned slowly through observation, experience, and narrative, and they are remembered in ways that modern humans rarely encounter. For instance, a seemingly trivial memory of a particular stone formation in a riverbed may contain vital information. In spring, it indicates where fish congregate. In summer, where berries grow in abundance. In winter, where the soil remains soft enough to dig roots. To a Paleolithic human, every element of the landscape is a library. The transmission of knowledge is multigenerational. Children learn from their parents, grandparents, and older siblings. Knowledge is also embedded in practice. A child observing an elder digging a root, repairing a basket, or maintaining a fire is learning both the technique and the judgment that comes from years of experience. Mistakes are instructive. Success is rehearsed, repeated, and refined. By the time someone reaches adulthood, they are capable not only of survival, but of teaching the next generation, ensuring that the web of knowledge strengthens rather than frays. Social networks extend beyond the immediate band. Bands occasionally meet at water sources, hunting grounds, or seasonal encampments. These meetings are moments of exchange, information, goods, and even genetic diversity. Elders may recount the location of abundant game to others. Skilled artisans may trade tools, beads, or ornaments. Young people may form bonds, sometimes lasting, that connect communities across miles. These networks create resilience, ensuring that no single band is entirely isolated or vulnerable. Symbolic thought plays a crucial role in all this. Objects, markings, and behaviors are imbued with meaning beyond immediate utility. A carved figurine is not just decoration. It is a memory, a teaching tool, or a spiritual object. Patterns drawn on rocks or engraved on bone may encode hunting strategies, seasonal cycles, or ancestral stories. Humans are not just observing the world. They are representing it mentally, abstracting it, and embedding knowledge in tangible forms. This ability allows them to plan, teach, and innovate in ways that no other species can. Spiritual life is intertwined with survival. Humans recognize forces they cannot control directly: storms, predator behavior, the fertility of the land. Rituals, whether performed around the fire, at sacred sites, or during seasonal gatherings, structure human activity and cognition. They provide continuity and stability, aligning human behavior with environmental rhythms. A ceremony might mark the first migration of fish, a full moon, or the ripening of berries. These are not empty gestures. They are instruments of knowledge and memory, reinforcing what must be remembered and guiding what must be done. Mortality is present but normalized. Infant deaths, injuries, and the occasional fatal encounter with predators or illness are realities of life. Yet the community absorbs these losses through ritual, narrative, and care. The death of an individual is an event for reflection. Stories recount their knowledge, humor, and skill, embedding their memory in the living community. The band becomes the continuation of each life, each person contributing to a larger story that persists even after their body is gone. This long view shapes human psychology. Individuals think not only of immediate survival, but also of legacy, continuity, and the impact of their actions on future generations. Every harvested root, every repaired tool, every story told to a child is a deliberate act with ripple effects far beyond the present moment. Humans become architects of the future, even when the future is measured in seasons or generations rather than decades or centuries. Consider the rhythms of a year. Spring brings melting rivers, fresh shoots, and the migration of herbivores. Summer offers ripe fruits, abundant insects, and fertile ground for roots. Autumn brings storage and preservation, the preparation for scarcity. Winter is a time of conservation, storytelling, and reflection. Humans anticipate these cycles, plan for them, and align their labor, play, and ritual accordingly. Seasonal knowledge is stored in memory, practice, and narrative, ensuring survival and social cohesion. That be why maintaining these rhythms. Humans also shape the environment. They create fire breaks, rotate camp locations, harvest sustainably, and selectively propagate plants. They manage prey populations by hunting strategically rather than destructively. In subtle ways, they engineer their surroundings, becoming active participants in ecological systems rather than passive observers. Over generations, these practices leave traces in the landscape, hints of intentionality that modern archaeologists can interpret tens of thousands of years later. Night deepens further. The embers of the fire have cooled, but memory, knowledge, and social cohesion remain warm and alive. The band rests knowing they are connected to each other, to the land, and to countless generations that preceded them. Tomorrow will bring new tasks, new observations, and new opportunities to shape the landscape, the culture, and themselves. Life is simultaneously immediate and enduring, rhythmic yet unpredictable, dangerous yet full of meaning. To I end this way, early humans are not merely surviving. They are building a culture, managing an ecosystem, preserving knowledge, and teaching wisdom. Every act, whether gathering roots, carving tools, telling stories, or performing rituals, is a piece of a larger system of adaptation, creativity, and social intelligence. Their world is fully alive, and they move through it with attentiveness, skill, and intention. As the first pale light of dawn begins to appear on the horizon, the band will wake again, ready to resume the cycle. They carry not just food and tools, but knowledge, memory, culture, and the continuity of life itself. This is life 40,000 years ago. Intricate, adaptive, collaborative, and profoundly human. It is a story of continuity, of networks, of intelligence and care, of mortality understood and legacy preserved, a rhythm that echoes into our present day and shapes who we are even now. The sun rises slowly, casting long shadows across the landscape. The morning air is crisp, carrying scents of wet earth, smoke from last night's fire, and the faint tang of distant rivers. The band begins to stir once more. Today, some will gather, some will tend to tools, and others will engage in what is often imagined as the centerpiece of prehistoric life, the hunt. But even hunting, contrary to popular belief, is not a chaotic scramble. It is carefully planned, deeply strategic, and guided by accumulated knowledge and observation. Hunting begins long before the first spear is sharpened or the first trap is set. It begins in memory and imagination. Hunters know the habits of deer, bison, and other game with uncanny accuracy. They track movements, observe seasonal patterns, and interpret subtle signs in the environment. A broken branch bent in a particular way, a footprint partially obscured by soil, a tuft of fur caught on a thorn. All of these are data points. Tracking is a form of intelligence, a combination of perception, memory, and prediction. Consider a hunt for deer. The hunters leave camp quietly, moving through underbrush and across streams. Every step is deliberate. They observe tracks, noting freshness, direction, and gait. They interpret droppings to determine health, diet, and even the number of animals in the herd. Birds in the trees offer signals. Sudden silence can indicate danger. Hunters are simultaneously detectives, biologists, and strategists, reading the landscape and the animals within it. Every decision, when to advance, when to circle, when to wait, is informed by experience accumulated over decades and knowledge passed down through story. Stories themselves are an essential tool for hunting. They are not just entertainment. They are manuals for survival encoded in narrative form. An elder recounting a hunt from years past is not merely telling a tale. They're transmitting techniques, strategies, and warnings. When a stag pauses near that ridge, approach from the lee side, the story might explain, or never rush the herd at midday. They are most alert then. These narratives allow young hunters to simulate experience mentally, learning lessons without risking their lives. In essence, storytelling becomes predictive technology, a way to teach strategy, judgment, and foresight. Tools complement this intelligence. Spears, atlatls, traps, and cutting implements are all extensions of human cognition, designed with purpose and refined through trial and error. The making of a spear is itself a complex act of planning. The selection of wood for flexibility and strength, the shaping and hafting of a point, the balance of weight for optimal throw. Hunters experiment with angles, grips, and materials. Observation of animal behavior informs adjustments. How the spear tip penetrates hide, how it withstands impact, how it can be reused or repaired. Even failure is instructive, recorded in memory and narrative to avoid repetition. But hunting is rarely solitary. It is deeply social, a collaboration of minds and bodies. One person drives the herd, another blocks escape routes, a third signals with subtle gestures, and a fourth remains hidden, ready to strike. Coordination is achieved without spoken orders in many cases, through eye contact, body language, and shared understanding developed over years of practice. These hunts strengthen bonds, reinforce trust, and provide a platform for intergenerational teaching. Children observe from safe distances, learning the rhythms and techniques, preparing to participate fully when they are older. Art, too, intersects with hunting. Cave paintings, engravings, and carvings often depict animals in motion, sometimes showing hunting scenes or highlighting anatomical features. These are not mere decoration. They are visual mnemonics, reinforcing knowledge about species, movement, anatomy, and behavior. A young hunter studying a painted bison learns its proportions, limb placement, and potential weak points. Abstract patterns may encode seasonal cues or migration routes. Art becomes a bridge between observation, memory, and prediction, a tool as functional as a spear or trap. Beyond hunting and art, humans innovate in subtle technological ways. Cordage, woven baskets, digging sticks, and composite tools expand the range of human capability. These innovations are incremental, cumulative, and shared through social networks, allowing knowledge to scale across generations and even between bands. For instance, a particularly effective basket design might spread slowly across hundreds of miles as humans encounter each other at seasonal gatherings. Similarly, innovations in fire management, building fires that burn longer, smoke to repel insects, embers to carry between camps, demonstrate complex understanding of cause and effect. These technological practices are not abstract. They are embedded in culture, survival, and social identity. Hunting success is uneven, and failure is common. Yet it is not despairing. Humans recognize the limits of their control, balancing risk with strategy. When prey escapes, the experience is recorded, analyzed, and shared. The story of failure becomes a lesson for future hunts, a tool for refining techniques and improving understanding of the natural world. Success is celebrated, but quietly, within the social rhythm of the band, emphasizing that collective survival is more important than individual glory. Even in moments of leisure, early humans continue to observe, learn, and plan. Children play games that simulate hunting or tracking. Adults engage in crafting or storytelling, and elders reflect on patterns in the environment. Music, rhythm, and movement reinforce coordination, memory, and social cohesion. Every activity, whether it seems practical or playful, contributes to the intellectual and cultural resilience of the group. Mid-afternoon. The hunters return, their quarry either captured or escaped. The gathered game is processed, shared, and preserved. Bones are broken to access marrow, hides are prepared for clothing or shelter, and meat is dried or smoked for storage. The work is collaborative, rhythmic, and socially reinforcing. As always, children observe, learning not only the practical steps, but also the ethical and social codes embedded in sharing, patience, and care. This night approaches once more. The camp gathers. Stories are told around the fire, recounting the day's successes and failures. Artifacts are examined, repaired, or created anew. Music and rhythm echo softly in the evening air, reinforcing memory, skill, and social bonds. Rituals may mark transitions, successful hunts, seasonal changes, or the passage of time. linking the immediate moment to the long-term continuity of the community that I end this way. Early humans lived simultaneously in the present and the future. Every action, whether hunting, gathering, storytelling, or crafting, is a thread in a larger tapestry of survival, culture, and knowledge. Life is slow, deliberate, and interconnected. It is about understanding the landscape, the animals, and each other in ways that demand attention, empathy, and foresight. Humans are not merely surviving. They are strategists, storytellers, artists, and innovators, shaping their world and themselves with every choice. And as the fire dims and the stars emerge, the band sleeps, resting within the continuity of knowledge, culture, and the rhythms of life. Tomorrow, they will rise again, moving through the landscape with attentiveness, cooperation, and intention. Every dawn is another chapter in the ongoing story of human ingenuity, adaptation, and connection, a story that stretches back tens of thousands of years and continues to echo in us today. As dawn filters through the shelter, the band begins to stir again. The world outside is alive with subtle signals. The whisper of wind through leaves, the distant calls of birds, the movement of small animals across the underbrush. The morning is not just a start to another day. It is a continuation of the intricate social and ecological networks that define human life. Beyond immediate survival, humans operate within a web of relationships that extends far beyond the immediate band. Bands are rarely isolated. Seasonal encounters between groups allow for the exchange of information, resources, and even individuals through marriage or adoption. These interactions are strategic and adaptive, ensuring genetic diversity, the sharing of specialized knowledge, and the strengthening of alliances. A band that only knew its own territory might survive in the short term, but bands that interact, trade, and communicate have a resilience far beyond the sum of their parts. Trade is one of the quiet marvels of prehistoric life. Early humans move objects over distances measured in tens, sometimes hundreds of miles, not for profit, but for practical and social utility. Shells from coastal regions, ochre from distant quarries, flint of exceptional quality, or rare plants with medicinal properties become symbols of connection, status, and knowledge. When a flint of superior hardness arrives at a band hundreds of miles inland, it is more than a tool. It is a link to distant knowledge and experience, evidence that humans are thinking not only about today, but about networks and futures beyond immediate perception. Social hierarchies, when they exist, are subtle and often situational. Leadership is contextual, based on expertise, age, or skill rather than birthright. A hunter with unparalleled tracking ability may lead a hunt, but not dictate every aspect of the band's life. An elder with deep plant knowledge may guide foraging expeditions, while others excel at fire management, tool repair, or child care. Decisions emerge organically through discussion, consensus, and tacit understanding, reflecting a balance between individual skill and collective need. This balance is essential because the survival of the group depends on the intelligence and cooperation of everyone involved. Children occupy a special place in the social web. They are not passive dependents. They are apprentices, participants, and cultural carriers. Play is both education and rehearsal for survival. Games simulate hunting, tracking, and problem solving. Storytelling teaches ethics, history, and environmental awareness. Even seemingly trivial tasks, collecting firewood, carrying water, tending younger children, are opportunities for observation and learning. In these ways, knowledge is interwoven with daily life, transmitted seamlessly across generations. Spirituality is another thread that unites the band. Humans recognize forces they cannot control: storms, predation, seasonal fluctuations, and they create rituals and symbolic practices to engage with these forces. Ritual objects, such as carved figurines, painted stones, or decorated hides, serve multiple purposes. They are repositories of memory, tools for teaching, markers of social identity, and expressions of hope or reverence. A figurine may represent a successful hunt, a protective spirit, or a medicinal plant. These objects encode knowledge, intention, and social cohesion, blurring the boundaries between the practical and the sacred. Ritual also allows humans to process uncertainty and mortality. Death, injury, and the unpredictability of the natural world are ever-present realities. When an elder passes, when a child is lost to illness, or when a hunt fails disastrously, the community responds with ceremony, storytelling, and remembrance. These acts preserve memory, reinforce social bonds, and maintain a sense of continuity. The deceased are remembered not only for their individual lives, but for the cumulative knowledge, skill, and culture they contributed. Every life, every death, is woven into a larger narrative of human persistence. Humans also demonstrate foresight and environmental intelligence. Seasonal camps are planned with knowledge of water sources, plant growth cycles, and animal migration routes. Tools and supplies are maintained, repaired, and stored in anticipation of scarcity. Fire is preserved not only for warmth and cooking, but as a strategic resource for long-term survival, with embers carefully nurtured and transported as needed. Even the placement of shelters reflects an understanding of sun, wind, predator behavior, and proximity to resources. These are not random adaptations. They are strategic, deliberate, and cumulative. Storytelling continues to be the vehicle for all of these layers of knowledge and culture. A single tale might encode ecological insight, social ethics, historical memory, and spiritual understanding simultaneously. A story about a river might teach where to fish, warn about dangerous currents, celebrate the cooperation needed to cross it safely, and honor the spirits that inhabit the water. Young listeners absorb these lessons intuitively, learning to navigate both the physical and social landscape with the same narrative lens. Art, trade, ritual, and social organization are not separate spheres. They intersect and reinforce one another. An elder carves a tool, explains its design to apprentices, and decorates it with symbolic markings that encode ownership, origin, or cultural meaning. A hunting party returns, shares its catch, and tells a story about how success was achieved. A child observing the scene learns geometry, biology, ethics, and social strategy all at once. Life in the Paleolithic is holistic, with knowledge, creativity, and survival interwoven in every action. Even as the day progresses and practical tasks dominate attention, the band remains aware of larger temporal and ecological cycles. Patterns of rainfall, flowering, migration, and animal behavior are memorized and anticipated. Knowledge is both immediate and cumulative, extending across decades and generations. Every act of gathering, hunting, tool-making, or storytelling is a node in an extensive network of information and adaptation. Humans are simultaneously observers, participants, and architects of their environment, capable of remarkable foresight and ingenuity. As twilight descends, the camp gathers once more. Meals are shared, children play, elders tell stories, and the fire burns steadily. Objects collected or crafted during the day are examined, repaired, or displayed. Music, rhythm, and dance accompany storytelling, embedding memory in body and mind. The band rests not just in physical safety, but in social, cultural, and ecological security, sustained by the accumulated knowledge of countless ancestors. At this moment, humans are fully present, yet deeply connected to the past and future. Every movement, every gesture, every story, and every tool is a link in a chain of continuity. The band is more than a group of individuals surviving day by day. It is a living, learning organism, shaping and shaped by the landscape, knowledge, and culture that surrounds it. Even when the stars emerge and the fire dies to embers, the patterns, lessons, and relationships established today persist. The band has not only survived, it has reinforced social cohesion, transmitted knowledge, nurtured the young, and strengthened its ecological and technological resilience. Life is deliberate, interconnected, and profoundly human, a dance between observation, adaptation, creativity, and social intelligence. Tomorrow, the band will wake again. They will gather, hunt, craft, tell stories, and teach the young. They will read the landscape, interpret subtle signs, and make choices that ripple across generations. Their lives are slow, intentional, and layered with meaning. A far cry from the simplistic, brutish caricatures often imagined. In these rhythms of work, play, ritual, and observation, early humans demonstrate the full range of intelligence, creativity, and adaptability that defines our species, a legacy that continues to shape us in ways we may scarcely recognize. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, your band continues its day, moving through a landscape that is both familiar and endlessly alive with subtle patterns. Every rock, every stream, every tree is a repository of information, a record of prior experiences, a signal of what may come. And your ancestors are masters of reading these signals, not with the technology of modern science, but with the technology of human cognition, observation, and social intelligence. Technology in the Paleolithic is not the flashy invention we might imagine. It is subtle, cumulative, and deeply integrated with daily life. Spears, atlatls, stone blades, fire, digging sticks, baskets, cordage, and traps are not separate gadgets. They're extensions of human perception and problem solving. Each tool embodies observation, experimentation, and iterative improvement over countless generations. Every notch on a blade, every curve of a handle, every design choice in a basket is a solution to a challenge our ancestors encountered in the landscape. Take, for example, a composite tool, a spear with a carefully hafted flint point. The hunter considers the hardness of the flint, the flexibility of the shaft, and the method of attachment. The decision is informed by both personal experience and stories from others. One elder may have observed that a particular stone fractures predictably under pressure. Another may have learned that sinew from a specific animal provides optimal binding. Together, these insights produce a tool that is greater than the sum of its parts, a convergence of knowledge, creativity, and trial and error. That problem solving is social as well as individual. When a trap fails or a spear breaks, the response is collaborative. Hunters discuss what went wrong, experiment with modifications, and demonstrate new techniques for younger members. Children observe these problem-solving sessions and often contribute unexpected ideas, small innovations born from curiosity or experimentation. The group collectively refines knowledge, generating a cultural memory of success and failure that guides future decisions. Symbolic communication amplifies this process. Early humans engage in abstract thought not only through language, but through markings, art, music, and ritual objects. Cave paintings of animals are not simply decoration. They encode behavioral information, seasonal knowledge, and social priorities. A series of dots near a bison might represent the best time to hunt, the number of animals spotted, or the sequence of actions needed to trap one. Engravings on bones or stones can mark ownership, lineage, or successful hunts. In these forms, art is functional, predictive, and deeply integrated into survival strategy. Music and rhythm are similarly entwined with cognition and social cohesion. Flutes made from bird bones, drums fashioned from hollowed logs, or rhythmic clapping during work are not only for pleasure. They coordinate movement, reinforce memory, and strengthen group cooperation. A synchronized rhythm while processing meat or pounding roots allows multiple individuals to work efficiently while sharing attention and energy. Singing or chanting encodes stories and instructions and patterns that are easier to remember and transmit. In this sense, music is both mnemonic and operational, a living part of the technology of survival. Ritual integrates these threads into a cognitive and social web. Every ritual act, painting, carving, singing, or dancing, reinforces knowledge about the environment, social relationships, and moral expectations. A ritual marking the first appearance of migratory birds may encode hunting opportunities, safety considerations, and ecological observation all at once. A dance celebrating a successful hunt teaches coordination, respect, and collective gratitude. In these rituals, early humans transform information into embodied memory. Every gesture, every song, every story is a tool for cognition and survival. This is also a moment to consider the temporal depth of prehistoric knowledge. Humans operate simultaneously in multiple time scales: the immediate, the seasonal, and the generational. A hunter may track deer today, plan for winter stores tomorrow, and recall lessons from elders learned decades prior. Meanwhile, the youngest children are observing, internalizing, and preparing to carry these insights into the future. This layered awareness allows humans to anticipate scarcity, mitigate risk, and exploit opportunity far more effectively than any individual could on their own. Technology, in this sense, is not only physical, it is cognitive and social. Every tool, every ritual, every story encodes information about cause and effect, about probability, and about the behaviors of both animals and humans. Every action teaches attention, precision, and foresight. Every failure is stored in memory, discussed, and used to improve future outcomes. The distinction between science, art, and ethics is fluid. They are all part of the same endeavor, the mastery of life in a complex and unpredictable world. Consider the making of a cordage basket. On the surface, it seems simple: twist fibers, weave them into a container. But every step is layered with knowledge. Certain fibers resist moisture, others resist wear. Twisting in one direction produces strength, in another, flexibility. The basket size determines its function, some for carrying roots, some for holding water, some for drying meat. The patterns used may encode ownership or identify the maker's lineage, reinforcing social structures. The act of making is simultaneously practical, educational, and symbolic. Even fire, the most iconic human tool, embodies this principle. Fire management is not just about warmth or cooking. It is about energy storage, resource optimization, and risk mitigation. Embers are transported to new camps. Fires are stoked to optimal heat. Smoke is used for signaling and protection. Understanding fire involves observation, experimentation, and social transmission, a fusion of technology, ecology, and culture. The day flows on in a rhythm that feels effortless to the band, but is intellectually rich and socially complex. As some individuals hunt or forage, others craft, repair, or teach. Art is created, stories are told, music resounds. Every activity is a node in a network of survival, knowledge, and cultural reinforcement. Human intelligence is distributed, not confined to a single mind, but expressed collectively through cooperation, observation, and shared experience. The BY evening. The camp is alive with layered activity. Meals are shared, tools are examined, stories are recounted, and rituals may mark transitions or celebrate accomplishments. Music and movement intertwine with memory, cementing lessons learned during the day. The fire dims, embers smolder, and the band settles for rest, knowing that tomorrow will repeat and build upon these cycles of knowledge, skill, and collaboration. That I end this way. Early humans were not merely surviving. They were innovating, problem-solving, communicating symbolically, teaching, learning, and reinforcing social cohesion in every action. Life was deliberate, slow, and profoundly interconnected, a tapestry of cognition, technology, and culture that sustained humanity across millennia. And while the narrative of brute struggle dominates popular imagination, the reality was far richer. Humans were thinkers, strategists, educators, artists, and planners, living with a deep awareness of their environment, each other, and the future. As the sun arcs toward midday, the band moves with purpose, but not urgency. Every step is measured, every observation deliberate. Early humans do not live in a static landscape. Seasons bring changes in temperature, rainfall, plant growth, and animal behavior. Understanding these cycles is not optional. It is essential to survival. Spring is a time of renewal. Rivers swell from snowmelt, fields and forests awaken with green shoots, and animals emerge from the scarcity of winter. Hunters note the timing of births in prey species. Foragers watch for the first shoots of tubers, the swelling of buds, the emergence of edible leaves. Knowledge is carefully distributed across the band. An elder recalls when the oaks last bore acorns in abundance, when a patch of wild onions appeared early, or when certain berries ripen after the first warm rains. This information is not written in books. It is encoded in memory, stories, and physical inspection of the land. Summer brings both abundance and challenge. Days are long, the sun strong, and water sources can dwindle. This is the time when preservation techniques are essential. Meat must be dried or smoked. Roots are roasted or buried in cool earth to prevent spoilage. Seeds are collected and stored for later planting or consumption. The act of preservation is both technical and social. Experienced members demonstrate techniques to the young, emphasizing the timing, materials, and signs that indicate readiness. Every mistake is observed and corrected, every success recorded in memory, becoming part of the cultural ledger of survival. Autumn signals preparation. The band observes the migration of birds, the rutting season of deer, and the growth patterns of nuts and berries. Shelters are reinforced for the coming cold, clothing repaired or replaced, and tools sharpened or reforged. Food stores are inspected, redistributed if necessary, and labeled, not with ink or paper, but with placement, shape, and association, a visual and spatial system that communicates knowledge silently across generations. Winter is the ultimate test of accumulated skill. Short days and long nights demand efficiency, foresight, and cooperation. Hunting becomes riskier. Foraging is limited to hardy roots, bark, and stored provisions. Bands may migrate to more favorable locations, following predictable patterns of animal movement, water availability, and plant growth. These migrations are not random. They're deliberate, often pre-planned months in advance, based on careful observation and oral transmission of ecological knowledge. Within this seasonal framework, early humans developed proto-agricultural techniques. While full-scale farming is millennia away, experimentation is constant. Certain edible plants are transplanted closer to the shelter or nurtured where growth is reliable. Root clumps might be divided and replanted, berry bushes propagated near camps, wild grains harvested selectively to encourage regrowth. These early experiments require patience, observation, and a deep understanding of plant life cycles. The line between foraging and cultivation is blurry, a continuum of human ingenuity interacting with nature. Medicinal knowledge develops alongside food and tool mastery. The band identifies plants with healing properties through observation, trial, and communal memory. Willow bark, rich in natural compounds, is used to reduce pain and fever. Poultices made from leaves or mud treat wounds. Teas from aromatic herbs alleviate digestive issues. Knowledge of toxicity is equally important. Some plants are deadly raw, but processed correctly, they provide sustenance. Knowledge is precisely encoded in stories, ritual, and apprenticeship. A child learning that 3 leaves of a particular plant, brewed in water, can ease cramps, while 5 can be fatal. Mistakes are costly, so instruction is meticulous, repeated, and reinforced over years. Environmental mastery is more than observation. It is active manipulation. Fires are used to clear underbrush, promote the growth of certain plants, and manage animal movement. Paths are subtly guided to optimize hunting or foraging efficiency. Temporary structures may direct water flow to preserve root caches or divert small animals into traps. Humans are not passive in their landscapes. They are active agents, shaping and responding to ecosystems with careful attention, experimentation, and foresight. These practices reinforce social cohesion and identity. Tasks are distributed according to expertise, age, and ability, but flexibility is essential. Children are apprentices. Adults shift roles based on season or circumstance. Elders provide guidance, oversight, and historical memory. Knowledge, skill, and labor are shared freely because the survival of one is the survival of all. Social bonds are reinforced by these routines. Shared work, shared stories, shared meals, and the communal satisfaction of contributing to the group's resilience. As the day winds down, the camp returns to its shelter. Baskets brimming with tubers, nuts, seeds, and medicinal plants are carefully stored. Food is distributed according to need and contribution, ensuring equitable survival. Children, now tired, play quietly near the fire, absorbing lessons from observation and imitation. Adults attend to tools, clothing, and shelter. Stories are told that reinforce seasonal knowledge, social norms, and spiritual understanding. Music accompanies these stories, embedding memory in rhythm and melody. Rituals mark transitions. The first appearance of winter stars, the first thaw of spring, the first hunt of a new season. Evening is a time of reflection. Observations made during the day are shared. Questions are posed and answered, and plans for the coming days or weeks are discussed. This is a cognitive rehearsal of both immediate and long-term survival strategies, reinforcing memory, teaching foresight, and cultivating adaptive intelligence. Every observation about the environment, every small experiment with plants, every modification to a tool contributes to a collective body of knowledge that spans decades and generations. Human life in this period is a balance of rhythm and innovation. The band is guided by natural cycles, yet it innovates within those constraints. Every meal, every task, every story, every song, and every ritual contributes to survival, culture, and identity. Humans are observers, planners, teachers, and learners simultaneously. They do not merely react. They anticipate, experiment, and transmit knowledge, creating a cultural and ecological feedback loop that sustains life and nurtures intelligence. As the fire dims and embers glow softly against the dark, the band settles into sleep. Tomorrow will bring new opportunities and challenges. More foraging, hunting, crafting, storytelling, and teaching. Every day is a continuation of the same cycles, yet subtly different, shaped by weather, movement, and circumstance. The landscape is alive with information, and the band moves through it with awareness, skill, and creativity. Even in these quiet moments, the human mind is active, planning, dreaming, remembering, and imagining. The legacy of this day, the plants tended, the tools refined, the stories told, the knowledge transmitted, will endure. It becomes part of a continuum stretching backward into centuries of ancestral experience and forward into generations yet unborn. In this way, life is not merely survival. It is learning, teaching, creating, and perpetuating a web of knowledge, culture, and adaptation that defines humanity itself. As the sun rises the next morning, a portion of the band prepares for hunting. Unlike what movies often suggest, hunting is not a frenzied, daily necessity. It is a high-stakes, meticulously planned activity, often spaced days apart, designed to provide protein, fat, and specialized resources like sinew, bone, or hides. The hunters move with careful deliberation, each aware that today, unlike the foragers gathering roots and berries, their decisions can mean life or death. Preparation is methodical. Spears are examined for cracks or weak points. Flints are sharpened, their edges gleaming, each microangle tested on small scraps of wood or bone. Sinew bindings are inspected for strength, repaired where frayed. Hunters discuss terrain, animal behavior, and recent tracks they observed. This is knowledge as strategy, passed down over years through observation, trial, and storytelling. Each hunter carries mental maps of the landscape, the bends of rivers, the hidden game trails, the patches of brush where deer might bed, the clearings where prey grazes at dawn. Before even leaving the shelter, safety is considered. Hunters scan for predators, bears, wolves, saber-toothed cats, assessing whether the risk is acceptable. They carry not just weapons for killing prey, but tools for defense and deterrence. The group may carry fire-starting materials, slings, or distraction devices. Every action is a calculation of risk versus reward, an expression of cognitive complexity far beyond mere brute force. The hunt begins quietly. Movements are deliberate. The hunters tread softly, aware that the sound, scent, and even shadows can alert prey. Tracking is a skill honed over years, interpreting footprints in mud, broken branches, trampled grasses, and scat. They can distinguish between a single animal or a herd, determine health and age, and predict its direction of travel. Observation is constant. A predator is always watching, and prey is always alert. So hunters must read the land as a living network of cues and signs. Hours may pass in silence. Occasionally, a hunter whispers a note about a track or gestures toward a distant clearing. Coordination is subtle. Signals, glances, and practiced body language replace words when necessary. The act of hunting is both physical and cognitive, requiring strength, endurance, and above all, patience. A failed stalk is as informative as a successful one. Each misstep teaches lessons about terrain, wind, and prey behavior. The emotional stakes are high. Hunters must manage fear and excitement simultaneously. Awareness of predators keeps adrenaline primed but controlled. Mistakes are costly, not only for the individual, but for the group relying on the food. Yet there is also anticipatory joy, the satisfaction of applying knowledge successfully, of reading the environment correctly, of aligning human intention with natural patterns. Every successful hunt reinforces confidence, skill, and social status within the band. When the prey is found, the chase is brief but precise. Early humans avoid unnecessary risk, using intelligence, coordination, and strategy rather than raw aggression. Hunters may drive animals toward nets, traps, or natural obstacles, exploiting the terrain and animal behavior. They may work in tandem, flanking or distracting, each knowing their role intimately. It is a cooperative dance, blending cognition, timing, and physical prowess. Success brings immediate practical and social rewards. The kill provides nutrient-dense meat, marrow, hides, sinew, and bones, all essential for survival. But the moment is also ritualized in subtle ways. Gratitude may be expressed through words, gestures, or small offerings, acknowledging the life taken. Sharing is immediate and precise. The kill is distributed according to established norms. Hunters, families, elders, and children all receive portions according to need and contribution. This equitable distribution is not charity. It is survival strategy, ensuring the band thrives collectively. Even after a successful hunt, vigilance continues. Predators are attracted by the scent of blood. Wolves or bears may approach from downwind. Hunters remain alert while butchering, cooking, or transporting meat. Every action is layered with awareness. Life and death are intertwined in the very air. Failure, too, is instructive. A prey that escapes teaches the hunters about wind shifts, animal behavior, or terrain miscalculations. Debriefing happens organically. Hunters discuss observations with each other and with the foragers back at camp. These conversations reinforce learning, refine strategy, and cement communal memory. Even failure contributes to the resilience of the group. Children observe all of this, absorbing lessons that cannot be learned in words alone. They watch the stalking, the calculation of risk, the cooperation, the handling of weapons, the precise distribution of food. Play mimics these activities. Children may chase, hide, or imitate tracking, internalizing survival skills while engaging in joy and exploration. Hunting, like gathering, is not just a task. It is an educational system, a way to encode knowledge in bodies, minds, and social networks. The presence of predators adds another dimension. Wolves, bears, saber-toothed cats, and other threats shape movement, shelter choice, and group strategy. Early humans develop elaborate risk mitigation behaviors, rotating night watchers, maintaining embers for smoke signals, building sleeping platforms or defensive enclosures, and observing predator patterns. Fear is present, but managed through intelligence and preparation. Awareness of danger sharpens cognition, hones social coordination, and strengthens group cohesion. Evening finds hunters returning to camp, successful or not. Meat is processed, stored, and shared. Bones are saved for tools, sinews for cordage, hides for clothing or shelter reinforcement. Social rituals reinforce the hunt's significance, transforming survival into shared memory and cultural identity. Music, storytelling, and dance may commemorate the hunt, encode ecological knowledge, or celebrate collective skill. Every narrative becomes a guide for the future, a record of what worked, what didn't, and how the band navigated both nature and fate. I end this way. Hunting in the Paleolithic is not a daily spectacle of violence. It is a carefully orchestrated cognitive, social, and physical activity embedded in long-term strategies of survival, learning, and culture. It illustrates the interconnectedness of knowledge, observation, emotion, and cooperation. Life is dangerous. Yes, but every action is calculated. Every failure is instructive, and every success strengthens the group's resilience. WY nightfall. The camp is calm. Hunters sit by embers, sharing stories, repairing tools, and mentoring younger members. Awareness of predators continues even in sleep. Some individuals remain lightly awake, listening for the sounds of the night. Life is never truly without risk, but the integration of knowledge, culture, and social coordination transforms uncertainty into a manageable, navigable system. This is how early humans thrived, not by brute force alone, but through intelligence, cooperation, and the careful integration of cognition, emotion, and social learning. Hunting, like gathering, is as much a mental exercise as a physical one, a dance of risk, observation, communication, and calculation, performed within a community that nurtures skill, memory, and trust. Night falls across the landscape, and the fire glows steadily at the heart of the rock shelter. The sky is dark, a blanket of stars stretching beyond imagination. Constellations unrecognized, yet already embedded in the human desire to make sense of the world. The day's work, gathering, hunting, crafting, slows and softens, and the band gathers near the embers. The fire is more than warmth. It is a nucleus of cognition, social cohesion, and storytelling, the center around which human culture begins to crystallize. As smoke curls toward the roof of the shelter, the adults begin to share experiences, observations, and lessons. Some are practical. The acorn grove is ripe near the northern ridge. The river's bend is deeper after the rain. The berries on the western slope must be cooked first. These are immediate survival instructions. But alongside them are stories of caution and wonder, blending observation, myth, and memory. Point one elder begins a tale. Her voice is low, measured, carrying both rhythm and authority. She recounts a hunt long ago when a wolf followed the hunters, unseen until it was too late. The story is not just entertainment. It encodes knowledge about predator behavior, tracking, and the need for vigilance. Every listener absorbs the lesson, consciously and subconsciously. The child on the mother's back, now quiet and alert, will carry fragments of this story into adulthood, a repository of ecological wisdom hidden in narrative form. Some stories are symbolic. The elder may speak of a great bird that flew across the sky, lifting the spirits of a band when the hunt failed. The tale is fantastical, yet it encodes a psychological truth. Perseverance in the face of uncertainty, hope when resources are scarce, and courage when fear dominates. In these narratives, the natural world and human emotion intertwine, creating a bridge between experience and imagination. Art begins to emerge in subtle ways. Nearby, a young woman traces patterns in the dirt with a stick, perhaps abstract designs, perhaps representations of prey. The designs are visual mnemonics, a way to map the landscape, encode hunting strategy, or honor animals taken. Others carve symbols into bone or wood, sometimes representing the passage of the sun, the phases of the moon, or cycles of migration. These markings are not arbitrary. They are proto-writing, symbolic thought externalized in material form. Music enters. A hollowed bone tapped gently, a drum made from stretched hide, or simple clapping forms a rhythm that accompanies stories. Music serves multiple functions. It reinforces memory, unites the group, and marks temporal and emotional transitions. A child learns not just to play or listen, but to participate in a communal system of sound and rhythm that encodes shared identity. Even a simple pattern, a heartbeat, a chant, a repeated note, creates cognitive scaffolding for complex social coordination and memory retention. Ritual emerges in these quiet moments. Certain acts, placing stones around a fire, arranging the day's kills in a specific pattern, offering food or smoke to spirits of the land, create predictable sequences that stabilize human psychology and strengthen group cohesion. Ritual is functional as well as symbolic. It provides structure in an uncertain world, allowing humans to process danger, loss, or scarcity. It also expresses a sense of agency. Though humans cannot control all outcomes, ritual allows them to intervene psychologically and socially, reinforcing identity and moral cohesion. Even in the absence of formal religion, early humans are spiritual in practice. They recognize the power and mystery of the natural world. The patterns of stars, the cycles of seasons, the births and deaths of animals, the unpredictability of weather, all of it generates a sense of connection, awe, and respect. Certain caves may be decorated with markings or pigments, the earliest examples of sacred space, where humans could step into a symbolic environment that represents both survival and transcendence. Storytelling also encodes moral and social lessons. Tales of selfishness, greed, or recklessness end in misfortune, subtly teaching group norms. Stories of generosity, courage, and ingenuity are celebrated, reinforcing behaviors that increase group survival. The narrative is an externalized memory, a repository of social, ecological, and ethical knowledge, shared nightly and passed down across generations. Language plays a crucial role here. Though we cannot know its exact structure, early humans likely used complex syntax, metaphor, and storytelling conventions. Words are not just tools for immediate communication. They're vehicles for abstract thought, planning, and imagination. Through language, humans can discuss things unseen, past events, and future possibilities, creating a cognitive loop where experience, memory, and foresight intersect. Children are not passive observers. They absorb patterns of speech, gesture, and action. They mimic stories, sing their own improvised songs, experiment with pigments, and create marks on nearby surfaces. Through play and imitation, they internalize survival knowledge, symbolic reasoning, and cultural norms simultaneously. Every action, whether practical or artistic, is a learning opportunity embedded in a rich, socially coherent framework. Night deepens, and the fire becomes a pool of glowing embers. The group rests near its warmth, but minds remain active. Thoughts drift between the tangible and the imagined. The line between dream and reality is porous. Dreams may inform decisions about where to hunt, where to gather, or how to respond to predators. This blending of experience, imagination, and memory is a hallmark of early human cognition, allowing humans to anticipate, strategize, and innovate in ways no other species could. In these moments, early humans are fully human, reflective, creative, social, and deeply aware of their place in the world. The mundane act of tending fire, the meticulous carving of bone, the rhythm of a song, the telling of a story, they are all threads in the intricate tapestry of culture. Every song, story, and symbol strengthens bonds, transmits knowledge, and embeds lessons about survival, morality, and the world beyond immediate perception. That'd be why the time the band settles into sleep, the day's labor, both practical and cognitive, has reinforced a complex, interwoven system of survival, learning, and culture. Knowledge is cumulative, distributed across minds, bodies, and artifacts. Symbols, stories, and rhythms create a cognitive infrastructure that allows humans not only to survive, but to thrive, to understand, anticipate, and shape their environment in ways that are profoundly adaptive. The fire dies down, but its glow lingers, as does the imprint of human activity. Every action today, tracking prey, gathering roots, crafting tools, telling stories, observing the stars, has strengthened the network of knowledge and culture that binds the band together. Early humans do not merely live in the moment. They participate in a continuum of intelligence, creativity, and social coordination that extends both backward through ancestral generations and forward through descendants yet unborn that in this way. Survival, learning, and culture are inseparable. The dance around the fire, the rhythms of song, the stories of courage and caution, the careful tending of tools and resources, all of it reflects a species actively shaping not only its material world, but its cognitive and social landscape. This is culture in its earliest form, a living system that encodes knowledge, binds communities, and nurtures human potential. Even as sleep finally takes hold, the human mind remains engaged. Dreams carry fragments of the day's lessons. The subconscious continues to process observations, recall experiences, and rehearse strategies. Sleep is both rest and active cognition, a continuation of learning and reflection, preparing the individual to wake and engage once more with the complex, dynamic world outside the shelter. The following morning, the first light creeps through the rock shelter, painting the walls in shades of soft pink and gray. The embers of last night's fire still glow faintly, a reminder of continuity, of vigilance maintained across generations. Some members of the band begin their daily routines, gathering water from the nearby stream, checking traps set yesterday, tending the fire, repairing tools, or simply stretching muscles stiff from sleep. But today, there is a subtle tension in the air. Hunters have spotted signs of another human group in the valley beyond. Tracks lead toward the river, faint at first, then more defined. Early humans are rarely isolated. They move across vast territories, but those territories are shared, overlapping, and contested, creating a complex network of interactions that blends cooperation, competition, and diplomacy. Territorial knowledge is key. Each band maintains a mental map of their range, noting edible plant locations, water sources, animal trails, and potential hazards. But it's not just about food. Certain sites are sacred, others are strategic. High ground, caves, or river confluences may serve as lookout points or temporary camps. These maps are dynamic, constantly updated through experience, and shared collectively. Knowledge of the landscape is distributed, not centralized. Elders, who have walked the terrain for decades, carry the most detailed understanding. Children and young adults learn by observation, by repeated traversal, and through stories embedded in journeys across the land. Encounters with other bands are always approached cautiously. Human groups are social, but also territorial. A meeting could be benign, a trade of tools, plant knowledge, or symbolic objects, or it could be violent if resources are scarce or trust is absent. Every approach is calculated. Wind direction, terrain, number of individuals, and signals of intent all inform strategy. Even silence can be a message, and misreading the cues can be deadly. Today, the decision is made to send scouts ahead. Two young adults, agile and knowledgeable, move quietly along a ridge, observing the other group without revealing themselves. They note the number of individuals, the presence of children or elders, the size and quality of their fire, and the animals they appear to be processing. This information will determine whether the interaction can be friendly, neutral, or needs to be avoided. Communication with the main camp is subtle. Gestures, reflections off stones, or temporary markers left in concealed locations. Trade is another crucial dimension of Paleolithic life. While subsistence activities ensure survival, specialized skills or rare resources create opportunities for exchange. Certain stones, pigments, shell fragments, or animal teeth are valued for tool-making or symbolic use. Bands may travel days or weeks to exchange these items, building social bonds that reinforce trust and mutual dependence. Trade is often ceremonial, involving negotiation, the observation of rules, and the performance of hospitality. Even small objects carry information about distant landscapes, skills, and social relationships, connecting groups in invisible networks that span tens or hundreds of miles. Conflict is rare but strategic. When disputes arise over resources or territorial boundaries, bands may use displays of strength, symbolic gestures, or alliances rather than direct violence. Diplomacy in the Paleolithic is subtle, nonverbal, and deeply social, relying on shared norms, mutual recognition, and the understanding that aggressive overreach risks catastrophic loss. Groups learn the consequences of overexploitation. A poorly timed raid could provoke retaliation, or a misjudged claim could lead to isolation from vital trade networks. Within the camp, planning for the future is ongoing. Some members observe the sky, noting the sun's position, wind patterns, and cloud formations. These observations guide decisions about where to hunt next, when to migrate, and how to allocate resources. Women may discuss the maturation of certain fruit or nut trees, the ripening cycles of roots, and the behavior of animals. Hunters strategize about prey movement, coordinating with scouts who cover different sections of the territory. Knowledge is cumulative, distributed, and constantly updated, blending observation, memory, and inference in ways that resemble early forms of environmental science. Even mundane acts have strategic importance. The repair of a basket may seem trivial, but it ensures the safe transport of gathered food. Maintaining fire-ready embers allows rapid response to predators or cold nights. Sharpening tools is an investment in efficiency and safety, reducing the likelihood of injury during hunting or processing. Every task is embedded in a web of interdependent survival practices, each chosen for maximum adaptive benefit. Social organization is flexible yet sophisticated. There is no single leader in the modern sense. Instead, authority and influence are fluid, earned through skill, knowledge, experience, and social capital. Hunters respected for successful hunts, foragers for ecological wisdom, elders for memory and storytelling, and skilled artisans for craftsmanship, all hold influence in decision-making. Consensus emerges organically through discussion, demonstration, and mutual respect, rather than rigid hierarchy. Leadership is situational and often task-specific, shifting depending on expertise required. Children continue to learn through observation, play, and participation. They follow elders to water sources, mimic digging and hunting techniques, or experiment with rudimentary tools. Play is never purely recreational. It is training in coordination, attention, and social skills, embedding cognitive patterns that will be crucial for adulthood. A game chasing a small animal or imitating a hunt teaches stealth, balance, patience, and observation, turning everyday exploration into lifelong skill acquisition. By afternoon, the scouts return with news. The neighboring band is friendly and stationary. A small group from your band prepares to travel a short distance to exchange items. The journey is slow, deliberate, and ritualized. Each movement, gesture, and sound communicates respect, signaling intentions while avoiding aggression. Arrival is followed by cautious greetings, perhaps a shared meal, the exchange of animal teeth, pigment, or a small carved bone. Conversation may include information about resource abundance, weather patterns, or the presence of dangerous predators. These encounters expand social networks, reinforce alliances, and distribute knowledge across populations. Evening descends, and your band returns to the shelter. Tonight, the fire is fed generously, smoke curling up and out into the cold sky. Discussions revolve around both the day's successes and lessons learned. The scouts recount their observations. The foragers share what they gathered. Elders tell stories that embed tactical and ecological knowledge in a narrative form, ensuring it is remembered by all. Children participate, asking questions, imitating adults, and internalizing the social and ecological intelligence of the group. Sleep finally claims the camp, but the mental work continues. Dreams are rehearsals for future scenarios, hunting strategies, gathering routes, predator encounters, or social negotiations. Memory consolidation happens simultaneously with emotional processing. The mind weaves together fragments of observation, experience, and storytelling, creating a cognitive infrastructure for planning, learning, and adaptation. This pattern, daily survival intertwined with long-term planning, Intergroup interaction, diplomacy, and knowledge transfer is repeated across seasons and generations. It ensures not only the survival of individuals, but the persistence of culture, memory, and cumulative intelligence. By participating in these practices, early humans are not merely reacting to immediate needs. They're actively shaping a future they may never fully see, leaving traces that endure in the social fabric, artifacts, and memory systems of their descendants. The fire burns low, casting flickering shadows on the walls of the rock shelter. Outside, the wind rustles through trees, carrying scents of moss, damp earth, and distant smoke from another band's evening fire. The day's labors, gathering, hunting, trading, observing, are complete. Night has settled in, but even in darkness, life hums. This is a moment for reflection, ritual, and preparation for tomorrow, a rhythm as old as humanity itself. Seasons dictate the flow of life. The band knows the subtle signs. The first frost cracking the leaves of maples. The migratory birds returning to the same trees each year. The flowering of plants whose nectar signals the ripening of fruit or the swelling of certain roots beneath the soil. These signs are like a calendar written by the land itself, and each generation learns to read it, integrating ecological knowledge, memory, and experience into the daily and long-term planning of survival. Birth and death are central to this cycle. The cry of a newborn pierces the shelter, a fresh life entering a delicate web of care and knowledge. Midwives or experienced women guide the process, offering both physical and emotional support. Birth is not only a personal event, it is a community event, a reminder of continuity and vulnerability. Every newborn carries with them the collective knowledge and culture of generations, the product of countless cycles of learning, experimentation, and survival. Death, too, is woven into life. When a member of the band passes, there is ritual, however subtle. The body may be wrapped in hides, placed in a carefully chosen spot, accompanied by small items, tools, pigments, or carved figurines. These are not mere decoration. They're signifiers of respect, memory, and the hope for continuity, a way for the living to maintain connection to those who came before. Funerary practices encode social and spiritual understanding, affirming identity and social bonds even in absence. Children observe, absorb, and internalize these lessons, learning that life is finite, but memory, knowledge, and influence can endure. Art flourishes in the quiet moments between survival tasks. Pigments from ochre, charcoal, or minerals are applied to rock walls, bones, or hides. Patterns range from geometric lines to depictions of animals, human figures, or symbolic abstractions. Art is simultaneously practical, spiritual, and social. It may be a talisman for a successful hunt, a teaching tool to illustrate animal behavior, or an offering to unseen forces believed to influence life and death. The act of creation binds the maker to their world and to their community, encoding cognition, culture, and emotion into material form. Music, too, continues to shape daily life. The steady beat of a drum, the hollow call of a bone flute, or rhythmic clapping accompanies both work and leisure. Music fosters coordination, memory, emotional connection, and identity, reinforcing social bonds that are essential for cooperation in survival tasks. A simple song can encode information, the timing of animal migrations, the location of fruitful gathering spots, or the moral of a story shared around the fire. Music, stories, and visual art are threads in the web of culture, each amplifying the other, creating a tapestry of meaning that sustains both individual and collective identity. Stories become increasingly reflective in the evenings. Elders recount hunts that ended in triumph or failure, misadventures in the forest, and encounters with neighboring bands. They weave in lessons about patience, courage, cooperation, and respect for the natural world. Myth and reality blend seamlessly. The fox that once outwitted a hunter may be both a literal event and a cautionary tale about cleverness and humility. These narratives teach, entertain, and encode wisdom, linking past, present and future generations. The fire dwindles as the night grows colder and the band begins to prepare for sleep. There is no strict schedule, no alarm to reset, but bodies instinctively respond to the rhythms of day and night. Some keep watch, tending embers to ensure the fire never fully dies. Others sleep, dreaming of tomorrow's journeys, tomorrow's opportunities, tomorrow's challenges. Sleep is restorative and instructive. Even in dreams, the mind continues to process ecological observations, social interactions, and practical strategies as the band sleeps. The shelter itself seems alive with echoes of human presence. Tools lie nearby, sharpened and ready. Baskets are stacked with roots, nuts, and preserved meat. Pigments and carved objects hint at creativity and ritual. Even the walls of a shelter bear marks, scratches, smudges, handprints, a silent record of lives lived, lessons learned, and connections formed. These traces are both practical and symbolic, evidence that early humans thought about the future even when focused on the present, leaving behind legacies that extend beyond immediate survival. Across the landscape, other bands are engaging in parallel lives, trading, gathering, hunting, and storytelling. Interconnected yet separate, human groups form a network of shared knowledge, mutual support, and subtle competition, an ecosystem not of plants and animals alone, but of ideas, strategies, and culture. Information spreads, techniques improve, and innovations accumulate, creating the foundation for everything that comes later. Agriculture, cities, language, written records, and civilization itself. The day, the season, the year, and the lives of individuals are all part of a long continuum. Early humans are fully alive in every sense, cognitively, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. Their lives are finite, but their knowledge, creativity, and cultural practices are durable across generations, passed down, adapted, and enriched. They are not merely surviving. They are living fully, intelligently, and beautifully in a world that is both harsh and breathtakingly intricate. And in the quiet moments when firelight dances on rock, when the wind whispers through trees, when the stars will silently overhead, the essence of what it means to be human shines through. It is curiosity, creativity, cooperation, and consciousness intertwined with survival but never limited to it. Humans are at once fragile and resilient, grounded in the immediate world and capable of imagining worlds beyond it. This is the legacy of your ancestors 40,000 years ago. Not just the bones, not just the artifacts, not just the cave paintings or tools, but the patterns of thought, the rhythms of daily life, the stories, songs, and symbols that encode what it means to be human. Every choice, every observation, every shared meal, every song or story was a thread in the fabric of culture, woven carefully and intentionally. And as the fire dies to embers and the shelter falls into silence, you can feel it. The continuity of life, the persistence of knowledge, the unbroken thread of humanity stretching from those early dawns and dusks to the present. In understanding their lives, their daily rhythms, their labor, their play, their creativity, and their social intelligence, you understand yourself. You understand the world we carry inside us, the inherited rhythms of curiosity, cooperation, and imagination that define every human day across every era. And so the story ends, not with a dramatic climax, but with the quiet, enduring heartbeat of human life, a life lived fully, consciously, and inextricably connected to the natural world, to each other, and to the vast tapestry of generations past and yet to come.